players are coming out. Have a listen to this reception. You heard the start of the Liquidator and the cheer that created from the West Brom fans packed all around the Hawthorns. Listen to this. I love a derby on Talksport as well. We've had a few of them recently, and it always makes the hairs on my arms stand on end. It's absolutely fascinating. Can't wait for this one. They really dislike each other, these two sets of fans, in case I hadn't quite put that across. I've had friends of mine texting me, one of them over in Turkey at the moment, a big Baggies fan, winding up my other friend who's in the Cotswolds, is a big Wolves fan, and they are absolutely on edge, biting their nails for this one, because it really, really matters. Handshakes between the players. Certainly no handshakes between the two sets of fans, that is for sure. No spare seats for the first Black Country derby in front of fans for almost 12 years. We're all geared up for it here on Talksport. This is more than just for a place in the last 16 of the FA Cup. This is for local bragging rights, and they mean more than anything else round here. It's West Brom Wolves. Sit back and enjoy in the company of Dean Ashton and Nigel Adley.
Thank you, Faye. Good morning once again. And whether it's the statue of Tony Bomber Brown outside the Hawthorns, the sight of Wolves' old gold shirts, or the 9 FA Cups these two clubs lifted when the final used to bring the nation to a standstill, West Bromwich Albion and Wolverhampton Wanderers are clubs awash with history, and a rivalry which stretches back to the Industrial Revolution is revived here today. And amid the hostility and passion of a Black Country derby, there is absolutely no doubt the FA Cup matters inside the Hawthorns here on this Sunday lunchtime. A reminder of the two teams once again. Only 3 changes across the two sides, 2 of those for West Brom, and a big call. Josh Griffiths, their young goalkeeper, comes back into the side. Alex Palmer is on the bench, and Nathaniel Chalabar is in midfield, with Adam Reach dropping out of the matchday squad. So it's Griffiths in goal, Furlong, Bartley, Kipra and Townsend the back 4. Across midfield, Wallace, Mowat, Yakuzlu and Chalabar, with Swift playing in behind Thomas Asante in attack. The one change for Wolves, Pablo Sarabia drops out, and Jean-Rincer Bellegarde comes back into the team, which drew 0-0 at Brighton in the Premier League last Monday, live on Talksport. Sarr in goal, the back 3, Kilman, Dawson and Totti, Semedo, Lamina, Doyle and Doherty across midfield. And Neto will be supported by Cunha and Bellegarde in attack. Dean Ashton, it is a privilege to be here for this game today, but where will it be won and lost?
Well, you're not meant to get this wound up, are you, before midday on a Sunday? But you can tell these supporters are. And I think obviously with the good home form that West Brom have got, I think it's going to be about, can they continue that? Can they be as defensively solid against this electric counter-attacking team at times? Cunha and Neto, when they're on the break, will be very, very difficult to stop. If they can do that, West Brom, then you would have to fancy the home side with the record they've got recently in this fixture.
And it's West Bromwich Albion who will get the game underway, attacking the Wolves supporters in the Smethwick end, away to our right-hand side. Both sets of players take the knee before kick-off to highlight the ongoing drive for diversity and inclusivity in football on and off the field. A blast on the referee's whistle, and the Black Country derby is underway live on Talksport, the FA Cup 4th round. But this means so much more than just a place in the last 16. This means everything to fans of both West Bromwich Albion and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Chalabar with the first dash forward now from midfield for West Brom, wide to this near side, and Wallace, who looks to chop back into the penalty area beyond Totti, fires the ball in towards that near post, headed behind by Craig Dawson, and it's a corner for Albion within the opening 30 seconds.
Powerful break, wasn't it, from Chalabar, right through the middle of the Wolves midfield. Lovely little layoff towards Wallace, and in the end, Totti Gomez just getting his feet in a tangle, allowing Wallace to get the other side of him and whip that cross in.
John Swift will take the corner on this near side at the Smethwick end. Chalabar is the short option, and it's played short to Chalabar, and now back towards Alex Mowat and square towards Wallace in the central area, back wide towards Swift again, the cross deep towards the far post, which is headed away initially by Lamina. And now regathered by Connor Townsend on the left for Albion. A high ball towards the far post. It travels all the way through to Swift now on the right-hand side. Looks to play it through towards Chalabar. And in the end, the flag is raised for offside. And with 80 seconds played here at the Hawthorns, live on Talksport in the FA Cup 4th round, it is goalless between West Brom and Wolves. The first ever meeting in 1883 in the Birmingham Senior Cup. Both founder members of the Football League in 1888. But they met twice in the FA Cup before then, and West Bromwich Albion have been successful in 8 of the 9 ties played against Wolves, most recently in the 4th round back in 2007, the supermarket carrier bag game when they won by 3-0 at Molineux. And it's Albion who have made the better start here. Thomas Asante looking to go beyond Craig Dawson on this near side, but Dawson, the former baggy, shepherds the ball behind, and it will be a goal kick. And it's a big day as well for Carlos Corberán. His wife is due to give birth on Thursday, and she is not here today, understandably. Her mother has come over from Spain to look after her today, and he'll be hoping the phone doesn't go.
I don't think he'll even notice, to be honest, with the intensity he's already shown on the sidelines and his usual exuberant self. He wants his team to press, he wants his team to work hard. They're a fascinating team in terms of that defensive unit, West Brom, yet they commit the fewest fouls per match in the Championship, which shows there must be a discipline to the way that they defend, and they don't want to give anything cheap away in terms of free kicks in and around their penalty area, especially with the height that Wolves will have from set plays.
9 wins, 3 draws, and only 2 defeats here for Albion in the Championship so far this season, as Wolves look to come forward with Doherty on this near side, down the line for Cunha, down their left, and the flag is raised for offside against Mateus Cunha, who has made such a good start to life at Molineux. 7 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League. He also scored the winner against Brentford in the 3rd round replay, which suddenly became a much bigger game for Wolves when they knew that West Brom were waiting in the 4th round draw.
He's become a really important player for Wolves this season, Cunha, especially away from home when they have to defend. At times he is that one big release. He can get it into him anywhere, and at times he can then glide past 3 or 4 players, taking the team up the pitch and be a real threat on the break.
India currently 191 for 9 in the first test in Hyderabad. Live and exclusive over on Talksport 2. They require 40 more runs to win. England need 1 wicket. Neto coming forward now for Wolves, but his route to goal is cut off by Kibre, but it's quickly gathered by Nelson Semedo. Wide towards Neto again on the far side. Semedo offering support, and the boos persisting from the home fans whenever Wolves have possession, but the old gold shirts are massing around the West Brom penalty area now as they look to slow the game down on the far side and maybe quell the sulphurous atmosphere inside the Hawthorns at kick-off time. 4 minutes played on Talksport. West Brom 0, Wolves 0 in the FA Cup 4th round. Coming up later on, we have the draw for round 5 at 2:30. Joe Shannon and Darren Bent will be live at Anfield for Liverpool against Norwich, which is now such a big game following Jurgen Klopp's news on Friday. And then at 4:30, Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce will be live from Rodney Parade. That game live and exclusive to national radio. Newport against Manchester United. And tomorrow night on Talksport 2, it is Blackburn against Wrexham with Hugh Wozencroft, Sam Matterface and Mickey Gray. And that should be a really good occasion at Ewood Park, with 7,000 Wrexham fans heading over the border to support their team.
Well, I would say with both of these sides, I think their first thought is the way that they defend, and then secondly it is about then once we get the ball, can we look to counter-attack. They don't heavily have possession in their respective divisions, but they've both got quality, pace on the attack.
Watery sunshine overhead. It's a crisp, almost early spring-like morning here. I arrived at the Hawthorns fairly early on, and there was a massive police presence all along the Halford Road, just behind the main stand in which we are sitting. And of course we sit here on the Nigel Pearson broadcast gantry, named after our friend and colleague from Talksport, sadly no longer with us, and there's no doubt that Nigel would have loved this game here today. As Totti plays it wide to this near side, and Doherty quickly down the line for Wolves, and there's an opportunity for Bellegarde, the one Wolves player brought into the side today to show his pace, wearing gloves on this near side. Doherty as well has got support from Cunha. And Wolves here are very happy to play this game at a fairly languid pace before the ball is clipped high into the penalty area from Tommy Doyle. And wide towards Semedo down the right-hand side. Neto comes short, and Neto now has space inside the penalty area to deliver the cross, looking for Doherty. Cleared away, though, by Furlong. Thomas Asante goes down. He's been caught by Kilman. And Thomas Bramwell, the referee, gives a free kick to West Brom midway inside their own half.
Well, if Wolves are going to get it wide, then that quality from either flank has to be perfect. They're a big side, West Brom at the back. You know, Bartley, Kipre, Furlong especially, with the height. And Neto, if you're going to just float that up, it's going to be too easy for West Brom to clear.
198 for 9 now, India, requiring 33. Live and exclusive over on Talksport 2, and that was a great listen, driving up the M40 earlier on today, heading towards this game with Andrew McKenna and the team, as Furlong comes forward now on this near side for West Brom. Good cross in, Thomas Asante with a downward header, but he almost got over the ball too much, and it's a comfortable claim for Jose Sarr.
Well, a little bit of space for Furlong just to glide into, and then just fed the cross in. Not a huge amount of pace on it. Thomas Asante getting in front of Kilman, and actually this is a chance, probably around 7 yards out, middle of the goal. Hits him in the face. I just noticed him rubbing his nose after that chance. Just took all the sting out of the header, and an easy save for Jose Sarr. But that was an opportunity from the wide area, which West Brom are particularly good at. I mean, they do get it wide. They've got Swift at the moment on the left-hand side. They've got Wallace, who's brilliant, on the right. First for accurate crosses per match in the Championship. They just, when they get it wide, there's no hesitation, and it's great for a centre forward. You saw Thomas Asante there. All it takes is just one sharp movement. You know the delivery's going to come.
And you're listening to West Brom against Wolves in the FA Cup on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly. 8.5 minutes played, 0-0 inside a very noisy Hawthorns, as Jed Wallace clips the ball wide towards the far side, the left, for West Brom. Townsend will challenge Neto and wins the ball, and now there's an opportunity for Mowat to bring the ball forward, and Townsend will deliver the cross high into the penalty area. Wallace with a free header, 8 yards out, straight at Sarr. Another really good chance.
Yeah, he played it wide. A big switch from Wallace all the way over to the other side. Eventually found itself to Townsend to clip it in, and Wallace just thought, I'm going to get myself in the box, right on the penalty spot again. There wasn't a lot of pace on the crosser. He's having to try and generate it. Couldn't really. Straight down the throat of Sarr. But another example, they'll get it wide, they'll get the ball into the box early.
And Talksport, the only place to hear all three FA Cup ties today. Neto now looking to bring a swirling high ball down on his chest. Claims that Cedric Kipra handled it on the edge of the penalty area, but nothing given, and it's claimed by Josh Griffiths. And we also welcome our listeners live across the United States today with our partners Sirius XM FC joining us for our coverage of the FA Cup here on Talksport, and they are very welcome. 10 minutes played, 0-0. Albion made a very quick start, but Wolves have generally had control of the game since, Dean, in terms of possession, but not too much conviction going forward.
No. Obviously, they're going to want to dampen the atmosphere as best as they can. Wolves, I don't think they'll worry too much about any early opportunities. Settle into the game. Pedro Neto was looking just to get in behind on that last attack, which West Brom are keeping quite a high line, I would say.
Well, that's how Carlos Corberán likes to play, to try and have the ability to counter-attack as quickly as possible and compress the space, as it's Totti playing a high ball forward again now, looking for Bellegarde, but coming across was Yakuzlu to outmuscle him and head the ball out of play just beneath us here, and it will be a throw-in for Wolves down their left, which Doherty will take. Now Totti back towards Tommy Doyle, who scored that spectacular equaliser for Wolves at Brentford when they played so much of that game with 10 players in the third round. And now Semedo again down the right-hand side. And with Neto often pulling wide, Cunha is the false nine, and Gary O'Neill has been talking about the need for a more authentic striker in his squad, but at the moment it doesn't look like it will happen in January.
No, well, obviously they let Sasa Kalajdzic go out, and you thought that would mean that they had their eye on somebody to come in that role. I know they've got Hwang to come back, but I think they could do with certainly one more in that position. Bellegarde has been the one so far to try and get in behind, as well as those two.
Totti coming forward now from the heart of their defence, finding Bellegarde on the edge of the penalty area. He tries to link up with Cunha. Cunha now heads it back towards Doherty. And Wolves once again have possession deep inside the Albion half. Cunha given the room to turn, right foot shot from him, but Josh Griffiths will watch that go 2 or 3 yards wide of his near post.
Yeah, I like that though from Cunha. He's recognised that Yokuşlu has dropped in to almost make a back three, I think, to stop that run from Bellegarde. So then he's just dropped into that space that's then been released by Yokuşlu, gets on the half turn, looks to strike. Yes, it was absolutely woeful, but I like the idea of picking that space when it's there.
Now Thomas Asante inside the centre circle for Albion in their blue and white stripes. It's a very windy day, some litter from behind the goal away to our left at the Birmingham Road end. As
looks like a yoga mat.
It does look like a yoga mat, doesn't it? Well, maybe people are trying to find their inner calm in the midst of a Black Country derby. Now Yokuşlu wide to this near side, and Furlong's got space for Wallace. Wallace now can deliver across into the penalty area, looking for Thomas Asante at the near post, but it hits Dawson, who was coming in behind him, and it goes behind for another corner here for West Bromwich Albion.
Dawson's very lucky because he cannot cope with Thomas Asante's sharpness in the box. He just made a lovely little dart in front of Dawson, and he just missed it. Thomas Asante, Wallace waited and waited for that movement, played a great ball in. Thomas Asante completely missed it, hit Dawson in the stomach and went behind for a corner. Another chance for the West Brom striker.
201 for 9, the India score in Hyderabad. They require 30 runs to win. England need 1 wicket. Over on Talksport 2. Download the Talksport app and you can swipe between that game and this game. Corner for West Brom in towards the near post, headed up in the air by Dawson and claimed eventually by Jose Sarr. Wolves yet to concede a goal from a corner kick in the Premier League this season, and standing firm so far here in the FA Cup 4th round, live on Talksport at the Hawthorn. 13 minutes played and it's still West Brom 0, Wolves 0.
Yeah, the initial ball in from the corner was brilliant, almost right underneath the crossbar without Jose Sarr able to claim. It was a good defensive header up in the air, just giving the goalkeeper time then to get his arms up and just diffuse the set play.
West Brom 5-time winners, last in 1968 when they beat Everton thanks to a goal from Jeff Astle. Tony Brown, who was in that side, legendary West Bromwich Albion attacking midfielder here today, working for local radio. Great man to talk to in the press room before a game. As Cunha wins it back now for Wolves, midway inside the West Brom half. Lamina square to the right-hand side. Semedo will have to sprint to keep the ball in play in front of the East Stand on the far side. Neto now on the edge of the penalty area. Heavy first touch from him, but he's played it back to Dawson, who gets booze, the former West Brom player. Now Totti with the high cross in, headed away at the far post by Townsend, but recovered by Cunha. High kicking on the edge of the penalty area, and now Cunha again slips it forward looking for Neto, but it was overhit, and it's behind for a goal kick seemingly, but the referee has given a corner, the first for Wolves.
It was pretty close, the referee, Tom Bramall, and he probably could hear a touch, I would expect.
Well, he could hear it, difficult to see it on the replay in fairness.
So he must have heard it, let's give him that, but obviously gives Wolves an opportunity with Neto on that side. Usually terrific delivery.
No VAR or snickometer in the FA Cup. Corner kick which Neto will take at the Birmingham Road end. Semedo comes short, but I think Neto will play this in on a windy day, driving it high towards the far post and right out of the penalty area. 3 bounces towards this near side for an Albion goal kick. And there has been a wicket in Hyderabad. John Norman.
A 7th wicket for the debutant. Tom Hartley has wrapped up one of the most incredible victories in England's long and storied Test history. Getting the last man, Siraj, to come down the track. He was short by a couple of yards as Folkes completed the stumping. And what a turnaround for England. They were down and out. 5 down and still short of making India bat again, thanks to 196, a career-defining knock from Ollie Pope. India was set 231 and they've fallen short by 29 runs thanks to a 7-fer on debut by Tom Hartley.
Thank you, John. More from Hyderabad coming up at half-time here on Talksport. And now Cunha with a shot inside the penalty area for Wolves, and it's high over the crossbar, and you can get all the fallout from a momentous victory for England in the first test, now live over on Talksport 2. Cunha there with another chance, and there have been 1 or 2 very good chances for both sides in the opening 15 minutes or so, Dick.
Yeah, half chances, that's for sure, but with a bit more quality. One of them could have been taken this time. I think that's a better tactic for Wolves. It was a lower cross-in. Bellegarde tried to hit it first time and just miscontrolled it, I would say, in terms of the volley. And it fell kindly for Cunha, probably about 2 yards off the floor, just on the side volley, catching it awfully on the outside of his foot rather than the laces, and then up and over it went. But again, just shows Yukuzlu right next to him, constantly getting himself into that back line.
Totti with a long ball forward now, looking for Bellegarde, but well read by Bartley. And here is Yukuzlu again, infield to Alex Mowat. And he's got time to turn now away from Bellegarde. Chalabar to his right-hand side, supported by Furlong, but further wide towards Jed Wallace, who is the Albion captain here today. Back to the former captain, Carl Bartley. And there is momentary calm inside the Hawthorns with 18 minutes played. Goalless here on Talksport in the FA Cup 4th round. The first of 3 commentaries back-to-back. Liverpool against Norwich coming up at 2:30. Newport against Manchester United. Live and exclusive to national radio at 4:30. Only on Talksport, as it's headed away on this near side for Wolves by Totti. Doyle, though, miscontrols, but he's helped out by Lamina. And it's back towards Totti again, and gets applause from Gary O'Neill, the Wolves manager. And both managers have been out on the edge of the technical area in the opening moments, and they'll be well aware of the importance of this game, and that's indicated by the 2 strong teams they picked.
Yeah, neither team really have got a grip yet on the game. It's not had a flow to it, has it? In an attacking sense, it's been a little bit bitty with those half chances, and Doherty on his way on the left-hand side.
Doherty now down the left, looking to clip across into the penalty area, blocked by Bartley, and it's behind for another corner kick for Wolves down this left-hand side.
Yeah, good work there from Doherty. As that left wing back, I think he has to do that a little bit more. Semedo's done it quite a few times on the right-hand side, going to support the forward players, running beyond is what's needed at times. You might not get it every time, but he's won his team a corner.
And Tommy Doyle will take it on this near side. It will be an in-swinger, and the breeze is still swirling around the Hawthorns here in the early stages. Doyle in towards the near post. It was an excellent delivery, and Yukuzlu had to deal with that to hack the ball away with Griffiths on the ground behind him, the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't volley that away, Yukuzlu, that could easily have gone in. I think Griffiths would have really struggled with the way that whipped in towards the near post. As Corberan scampers across his technical area, shouting at every player.
I thought he was going to tackle Craig Dawson there for a moment. He was so close, but in the end Dawson plays it straight out of play again as a black balloon bobbles out of the Smethwick end and bumbles along the playing surface midway inside the Wolves half. And the wind is a factor at pitch level. You can see it ruffling the shirts of both sets of players as Griffiths, 22 years of age, player has come through the academy at the Hawthorns, and now there is a Wolves player down following a clash of heads just inside the Albion half, and it will be a free kick and treatment here for Okay Yekuzlu.
Yeah, Dawson in the end, I'm not quite sure he can get out of the way. I think he went with Thomas Asante, and then Yekuzlu just backed in, but he does go up with his knees, Dawson, and it's not a nice one for the West Brom midfielder.
Knee into the small of the back there from Dawson in mid-air. He's apologising to Thomas Bramwell, saying there was nothing else he could do.
I don't think in real speed, I don't think it was forceful. I think it was a very low speed, but still not a particularly nice thing to have when you got your eye on the ball and then getting a knee in the back.
Wolves with only one victory against West Brom in the FA Cup. That came in the quarter-final at Molineux in 1949 when they went on to win the trophy, and they've lifted it 4 times, most recently in 1960, the final major trophy under the legendary Stan Cullis. Thomas Asante on the far side for West Brom. Now Swift looking to find Townsend. The early cross into the penalty area, but it's a simple claim for Jose Sarr at the near post.
First real sign of John Swift, actually. Beautiful little cushioned outside of the foot touch into Townsend's path. He's not been able to get into the game very much so far, John Swift. I think he's an excellent creative player, but playing on the left is probably not his natural position, and he has drifted in at times.
And he's on the ball again now. Thomas Asante made the early dart forward, but has to check his run to stay on side. Here is Townsend, back towards Mowat. One of 2 real scrappers in the heart of the West Brom midfield, along with Yekuzlu. And now Furlong again on this near side, jabs the ball with the outside of his right foot, looking for Wallace, and Wallace will take on Totti and go beyond him deep into the penalty area. Laid in for Swift. Swift turns 6 yards out, plays in the ball, appeals for handball. It's gone behind for a corner kick in the end. Of course, no VAR here, so they will not be taking another look at that, but we will be.
Terrific play from Jed Wallace on the right-hand side. Faked as if he was going to cross it, and then dived in side Totti Gomez, and then just clipped it in towards Swift, who sits Dawson down and then gets back up Dawson quickly to block.
And it did hit Dawson on the elbow. Looking at the replay here. Now Swift with the corner, headed away at the near post by Totti. Mowat heads it back wide towards Swift again down the right. First time ball lofted high into the penalty area and straight down the throat of Jose Sarr. 23 minutes played, 0-0.
Another half chance, you would say. Not a gift, was it? Swift had a lot to do still at the near post to cut it back and then try and get it inside Jose Sarr and that near post. But they've looked the more likely. West Brom, I would say their chances have been a little bit better than Wolves.
Now Doyle, wide towards the far side. And Max Kilman, who has come through the Wolves Academy via non-league football and is now the captain, somebody who's been there for a number of years and has gone through a number of managers, but increasingly has become the mainstay at the heart of their defence. Now Doyle, wide towards Doherty on this near side, and Doherty's got the opportunity to play in Doyle, but it's back again towards Neto, and it's recovered by Swift, and it's so scrappy down there. It's 100 miles an hour and nobody's really putting their foot on the ball and trying to create or orchestrate.
Well, it's just so tight in the middle of the pitch. Both teams are squeezing that part and giving the space in behind, but it's difficult to have any sort of time to get your head up and turn and play a pass.
Now Thomas Asante back towards Chalabar, and Chalabar tries to thread it back towards Thomas Asante, but it's cut out by Kilman, and it's wide now towards the far side and Bellegarde. And Wolves have the opportunity to counter-attack again, but West Brom are a very fit team and they get back very quickly. Now Doherty, and when he looks up there are 6 blue and white striped shirts on the edge of the penalty area. Doyle again with a high cross in, and there was possibly half a nudge there on Lamina as he looked to shape for the header, but it's claimed by Griffiths. And it's a very difficult ball to attack from Doyle, but it's the only ball he could really play into the penalty area.
I actually thought it was a decent attempt. It was the right decision because they had the numbers in the box with Lamina joining the forward players. Again, probably with the wind, very, very difficult to judge those deliveries in, and just slightly overhit. But again, too often at the moment when Wolves do attack, because Cunha doesn't necessarily stand up there, Bellegarde has is drifting, and Neto obviously naturally drifts to the right-hand side. Players get their heads up, and there's actually nobody in that centre-forward position, which means they have to be really patient and intricate with their build-up.
And West Brom beat Aldershot 4-1 in the previous round. A very different scene here today, and it was their first victory in the competition since reaching round 5 in 2020. And Wolves have had a similarly poor recent record in the FA Cup, and they've not reached round 5 only once since getting all the way to the semi-final back in 2019. But they're coming forward here. Semedo wide towards Neto, cutting infield again onto the left foot, back to Doyle. We know he can hit them from long range, but he goes wide towards Semedo down the right. 26 minutes played at the Hawthorns, 0-0 in the Black Country derby. Live on Talksport. The crossing from Neto is blocked at the near post, but almost given away by Thomas Asante. Mowat is forced all the way back to the corner flag on the far side, but he's helped out by Cedric Kipre, and he will hammer the ball forward, but Kilman steps in before Thomas Asante. But now Yakuzlu quickly wins it back, and there's a potential counter-attack here for Albion. Thomas Asante, though, looking to spin out of the challenge with Doyle, and he gives the ball away, and eventually Wolves have a throw-in.
I think West Brom are going to be happy if Wolves play slowly, trying to build up in the way that they are. It means they can get the numbers back. It means that I don't think they mind a cross coming in from Wolves. And then when they can attack, Thomas Asante, very difficult. He is so isolated. Wallace pretty wide on the right. Swift drifting into the sort of midfield 10 role. Thomas Asante's up there on his own at times against the 3 centre-backs, which is so difficult to then be able to get hold of it easily.
The Wolves currently mid-table in the Premier League, and they've done really well after a slow start to the season, which was possibly understandable following Gary O'Neill's arrival only days before the opening game. And of course, as we touched upon before, some VAR decisions which went against their team, which were questionable to say the least. And of course, no VAR here today, and I'm sure Gary O'Neill will be fairly happy about that.
Yeah, just a bit. That still doesn't mean that there can't be decisions that don't go your way, but at least he won't have the...
But if a referee makes a call on the field, in all honesty, with one look, and it's maybe not the right decision, you can almost accept that, can't you?
Absolutely, especially, look, Gary O'Neill's been there. He's been in the middle of a game at pitch level, which is very, very different than being up here in the stands, getting to see it all, getting to see replays, slow motions. When you're down there and you get one look, very, very difficult.
No VAR here, no VAR at Rodney Parade, but there will be at Anfield, which does seem slightly strange on an even playing field. As a free kick for Wolves comes to nothing, it's hammered clear by Mowat, and Semedo has to come all the way across to this near side, rise above Thomas Asante and head the ball out of play.
Things that fans love to see is a player sprinting fully 50 yards with no right really of winning anything to win his team a throw. Seems a small thing, but can be absolutely vital for your team as Furlong looks to take a long throw, but also the supporters.
Furlong does have the ability to hurl this a long, long way. When Valerian Ismail was the manager here, there were towels all around the pitch, but not the case here now under Carlos Corberán. Furlong with a great delivery in towards the 6-yard area, headed up in the air by Doherty. Kipre challenging, back towards Kipre. Kipre takes a swing and it's cleared away inside the penalty area, but there was a moment's consternation there for Wolves deep inside their own 6-yard box.
How long it felt that it just stayed right in that area, just pinging around off shins and calves and knees, and in the end it just never quite fell, did it, to a West Brom player. Kipre had about 4 swings at it and missed every single one.
In the Women's Super League, Manchester United lead Aston Villa by 1-0. Nikita Paris with the opener there. United now 7 points behind the Champions League places after losing at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea last week. Still goalless here in the FA Cup 4th round, and it's been a game awash with passion but fairly low on quality so far. Both of the attempts on target have been from West Brom, and Jose Sarr has made a couple of routine saves. Now Bellegarde chasing on this near side. Bartley comes across and just allows the ball to hit him, and it will go out of play for a Wolves throw-in. As we look out from the gantry here, slung beneath the roof of the main stand here at the Hawthorns, the West Stand. Sellout crowd here today, and I understand that some of the Wolves tickets on the exchanges have been going for fairly large sums. Everybody in this part of the world desperate to see this game. And they've not had too many sellouts here in recent years. I was here for the most recent one against Aston Villa in the playoffs back in 2019, when Craig Dawson, now playing for Wolves, scored the only goal when Wolves were eventually beaten by Villa on penalties.
That's been forgotten as he gets booed again.
Yes. Yeah, very good goal scoring record. He has a very good goal scoring record as a central defender. Only has one so far this season, but scored 15 in 225 games for West Brom. Got double figures once for Rochdale in the early years of his career. Now Doherty back towards Dawson again. Don't really need to say his name. Dawson with a high diagonal ball, and there could be an overload here for Wolves down the right hand side. Semedo heads it forward. It's hooked away by Townsend, who did well there under pressure. And now Mowat stepping in for Wolves over the halfway line, wide towards Swift down the left hand side. Wallace onside into the penalty area down the left. Only Thomas Asante waiting, but the flag goes up belatedly, and it will be a free kick for Wolves.
Yeah, it was difficult for Jed Wallace to make that run because he'd gone all the way over to that side, so it's not like he's on the right hand side and he can look across the line to keep himself onside. He's taking a bit of a risk with his back to that Wolves defensive line, and he was just slightly offside, but it takes the sting, doesn't it, out of another West Brom attack. They're just nullifying each other at the moment, aren't they? Neither team has really been able to gain the space to create those opportunities that you need in a game.
At the moment, there is almost too much to lose. With 12 minutes to play in the first half here on Talksport. West Brom 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. England have won the first test in Hyderabad. Dom Hartley spinning them to victory on his debut over on Talksport 2 earlier, and we will have reaction to a truly great England victory in the first test coming up at half-time here on Talksport. As Bellegarde spins away from a challenge for Wolves on this near side, plays a 1-2 with Doherty. Cunha in space inside the penalty area now. Low ball across, and there's a deflection, and in the end Kipra almost diverted the ball into his own goal. The ball also hit Yakuzlu, and eventually it scrambled behind for a corner.
That was a little bit of Premier League quality, wasn't it, in the way that they built that up down the left-hand side. Bellegarde, lovely little swift half-turn, flicked it into Doherty. Doherty then with a Cruyff flick straight into the path of Bellegarde, who then fed it on towards Cunha, played it in. Only Neto in the box, probably the only disappointment of that attack.
Neto from the corner wins another one, blocked by Jed Wallace on this near side. And Neto and Doyle having a discussion to decide who is going to take it. And in the end it will be Neto, who is back from a hamstring injury, and he will hope that his injury problems are now behind him. Neto with an outswinger high to the far post. Dawson ducks out of it. I think he maybe got a call, but in the end nobody leapt behind him, and Albion will clear.
But again, it was another sort of floaty delivery. Maybe something they have worked on, wanting to get that secondary phase when it's headed back across the goal.
Now Lamina all the way back towards Dawson again. Now Tommy Doyle takes over, and he missed out on an FA Cup semi-final last season with Sheffield United because it was against his parent club, Manchester City. Now Dawson again.
I think what surprised me about Wolves is Cunha's positioning. Bellegarde has been the one that's been sprinting it in behind, whereas Cunha, I would feel as if he would be the player that's the one that's going to run in behind. Instead, he keeps coming short every time, and he's actually not been a threat at all, really, in this game until they get towards the edge of the box where he starts to come alive. I'd like to see a few more runs in behind from him because he's got the pace and he'll have more ability than Bellegarde once he gets into that position.
Now a high ball played forward again by Lamina, and it's Doherty who goes down looking for a free kick midway inside the Albion half. Nothing given, and Albion will come forward now with Furlong wide to this near side, and Wallace back to Furlong again, and Yakuzlu does well to turn under pressure from Bellegarde, and Swift midway inside the Wolves half, wide towards the left hand side, and Connor Townsend no opportunity to deliver the ball in, so he finds Mowat with the cross in now. Dawson though rising above Thomas Asante, and he heads the ball out on the far side, and it will be another corner kick to Albion.
I think Dawson there again, he's worried about that movement of Thomas Asante, so he just made sure that he was in front of him, but in doing so didn't read the flight of the ball, heads it behind for a corner. It's just causing a few problems, Thomas Asante, with that sharp movement that he has.
Great contrast in colour in that far side of the stadium, the blue and white of West Bromwich Albion in very close proximity to the old gold and black of Wolverhampton Wanderers behind Alex Mowat, who is about to take the corner kick here at the corner of the East Stand and the Smethwick end at the Hawthorns. Mowat drives it in towards the edge of the box. Terrible delivery, cut out by Doherty, who gathers the ball and now plays it forward towards Neto. Neto sprinting clear here for West Bromwich Albion, up towards the edge of the penalty area, rides one challenge, fires in the shot, and Neto scores a classic breakaway goal in the Black Country derby. Seconds before, West Bromwich Albion had a corner. It was a poor delivery, and Wolves swept downfield, and the old gold is glittering inside the Hawthorns. It's West Bromwich Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
That was clinical from Pedro Neto. It's a disaster for West Brom. It's happened again. It's happened earlier in the season against Leicester City, when they just don't leave the players back. And Wolves, it was a terrible corner, clipped towards the edge of the box as if Jed Wallace was there to then volley it. But Doherty springs onto it, takes a beautiful touch and just plays Neto in, straight in behind. Of course he's going to cut onto his left foot. Of course he is. So show him down the right-hand side. Instead, they allow him to come onto his left foot, Neto, and he just drills it back across himself, skids along the surface, flashes past Griffiths for 1-0.
Well, we talked about Griffiths pre-match, but nothing he could do there. Alex Mowat with the corner kick, drifted out towards the edge of the area, gathered by Doherty. Now Wallace at the other end looking to come forward. He's heading towards the Smethwick end, which is full of smoke at the moment. The old gold pyrotechnics have been let off by the Wolves fans inside that stand, and we can smell the cordite in our nostrils as it drifts across the playing surface here at the Hawthorns, the smoke billowing out of the Smethwick end. But Wolves lead by a goal to 0, and that's only the 6th goal they've scored in 12 games here since they last won, thanks to a Ewan Roberts hat-trick at the Hawthorns back in 1996.
But it'll be so frustrating for Carlos Corberán and the coaching staff, because
how many touches from the corner to the goal at the other end?
2.
Well, 2 players,
and just obviously Doherty takes a touch and just plays Neto straight in behind, pretty much 1v1, and that happened earlier in the season against Leicester.
Now Chalabar coming forward, back again towards Wallace. The cross is blocked by Totti, and if you missed that game against Leicester, which was live on Talksport 2, Albion equalised in the last minute against Leicester. They then had the opportunity to try and score the winning goal. Everybody went forward, they got caught out, and Harry Winks scored the winner.
But in the manner that it happened, in terms of with
exactly
that goal,
the same, yeah.
Exactly. Dewsbury Hall just played in behind, he played it across, and Harry Winks tapped in, and there was no West Brom defenders there. And it's just happened again. It was 2v2 once they'd won the ball, Wolves.
5 minutes to play in the first half here. Wolves a goal up. Furlong with a long throw into the penalty area, headed away. Now Swift Nods it down for Furlong again on this near side. And now Townsend. Picking out Swift again. And Chalabar almost giving the ball away, and they're playing a very dangerous game here, West Bromwich Albion, because Neto was almost sprinting clear over the halfway line once again. Now Cunha finding Bellegarde, and Albion here just need to regroup and at least get to half-time only a goal down.
But it just changes it, doesn't it? The whole mood of the stadium, the anxiousness of the West Brom players all of a sudden. In games such as this, that first goal can be so important and just shifts the mindset of everybody.
Now Kilman, just inside the Wolves half. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 on Talksport. 3.5 minutes to play in the first half. And only a second goal of the season for Pedro Neto. But he does have 10 assists as well. And now Doherty, who will claim an assist for that goal. Furlong, though, wins it back. And now a flick from Doyle. A Croy flick as well, all the way back to Dawson. Took a chance, but got away with it. Kilman up towards the halfway line and Bellegarde. Kipra comes in with a firm challenge. And here is Chalabar, who maybe needs to impose himself a bit more on the game with Swift. Wallace has been cleaned out by Doherty on this near side, and it will be a free kick. And we've not seen too many challenges like that. I thought the challenges would be wiring in right from the start, but it's not been that sort of game.
It's not. West Brom aren't that sort of team, as I said earlier. They're not a team with Corberan that he wants to give fouls away. I don't think he sees his team in that sense. You'd still expect it in a game such as this. You just mentioned Chalobah there. You know, he's playing in a more forward role because of Yukuzlu and Mowat. And you just wonder, there is a change there, of course. If you want to bring Swift more into a central role, you've got young fellows on the bench that could play out wide. It could be something that he looks at.
Wallace now turning away from Totti. Midway inside the Wolves half, there could be a shooting opportunity. Wallace does let fly, but an excellent block by Kilman on the edge of the penalty area, and Wolves have the opportunity to break themselves now. Doherty once again finding Neto. Neto coming in field. Cunha makes the burst up towards the edge of the penalty area, but then will have to retreat because it's all the way back with Doherty, and Wolves are in control of this game here, leading by a goal to 0. And so much of the controlled football is coming from the team in Old Gold.
Yeah, they've just not since the goal, even before the goal, they'd started to have a bit more controlled possession. It's really slowed the game down to their own pace. Tommy Doyle in particular getting plenty of touches on the ball, but that was poor from Jed Wallace. Got into a great position, so obviously had the chance to shoot, took so long, just allowed Kilman to come across the block.
Now Yukuzlu looking to bring the ball forward here for Albion. A goal down, just over a minute to go, plus added time in the first half here on Talksport. We'll be looking back on England's victory in the first test. Incredible performance from Dom Hartley on his debut. Had a torrid time in the first innings, but was the match winner in the second. And you can also check in on the Following On podcast, available on the Talksport app, and also some great coverage on the Talksport Cricket YouTube channel as well. And there'll be so much to enjoy after England's performance over the last couple of days, as Albion try and bring the ball forward here, trailing by a goal to 0, seconds before half-time here on a grey Sunday lunchtime now, and it's a gloomy one for the home supporters inside the Hawthorns at the moment, as a couple of balloons bobble around the pitch on the far side, as Townsend almost has to sidestep them and play it back towards Kipra. First shot on target there from Pedro Neto for Wolves, and it found the back of the net. And the one thing you don't do, as you say, is show him inside, because you know exactly what will happen, and there'll be a single minute of added time at the end of the first half.
Well, I'm not being funny, but if you give him the right-hand side and he pulls it onto his right foot and rifles it into the top corner, you kind of hold your hands up and go, well, I feel like I've done the right thing defensively, but he's hit a worldie with his weak foot, which we haven't really seen from Pedro Neto. Instead, you allow him onto his favoured left foot. I just think that's just unforgivable defensively when you know how strong he is on that side.
And they're coming forward again here with 20 seconds of added time to play.
I always think as a defender, your job should be to make it as difficult as possible for a forward to score. And you need to say to them, well, go on, you make yourself a chance. You make the opportunity. You see if you can score from this angle with that foot. And he just didn't do it with the goal.
That is half-time, and it's the Wolves fans in the Smethwick end who rise to acclaim their team. Pedro Neto with the only goal so far, breaking clear after Albion had a corner. But attack very quickly turned into counter-attack for Wolves. Doherty finding Neto, and he did the rest. And at the moment, Wolves are heading for their first victory here since 1996. Half-time, it is West Bromwich Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
Well, Gary O'Neill will be delighted with that, Dean Ashton, but Carlos Corberán, I mean, the game needed a goal, didn't it? But from a West Brom point of view, it was a poor one to concede.
It's a terrible goal, you know, from your own set play where you're looking to create and to score, to not have the numbers back in case that ball isn't right. Again, it's unforgivable defensively, especially when it's happened to you before this season. And you know that Wolves' massive strength is when they can counter with the pace of Neto and Cunha and Bellegarde. To allow that to happen to yourself and then to allow him onto his left, just so many things wrong with the goal from a West Brom perspective. And to be honest, up until that point, they'd kept Wolves quiet, they'd created some half-decent chances themselves, and they'd have been really happy, but the goal just changes the whole feel of it.
I felt that energy was just sucked out of the Hawthorns a little bit, and you could feel the fans getting a little bit restless anyway, because they did create the better chances, arguably, West Brom, but they just don't seem to have the end product.
No, I mean, I don't think look, Wolves are giving them the respect in terms of they're sitting deep and making it difficult, and I don't necessarily think they've got that genuine sharpness, creativeness with maybe Chalobah there in and around the penalty area, which is what Wolves are giving West Brom. So they're going to find it difficult unless they can get the ball wide, which is where they've had their opportunities. They didn't do a lot wrong in that first half. You know, they're up against a superior team who are in a division higher, and I thought they were the better side overall in that first half. So he's got to try and get that across to the players, because you're right, you could sense it in the stadium, you can sense it with the players. It went a bit flat and they then allowed Wolves just easy possession.
But then, you know, with a player like Matt Doherty, he's got game smarts, he's been around for a long time, and he just poaches the ball from that corner, and all you need is Pedro Neto and the speed that he has down that right hand side to have the West Brom defenders tracking back, not getting there, and as you said in commentary, nothing that Josh Griffiths in the West Brom goal could do with that finish.
No, it was an outstanding finish. They've missed him, haven't they? He was electric at the start of the season, back to what we felt was his best after those horrible injuries. Had another setback with another injury. He's back again. It's his first goal since coming back, and he's got the quality, hasn't he? But as I said, as a former striker, I am begging you as a defender, please give me what I want. I ideally want to come onto my favourite foot with very little pressure to get my head up and shoot, and that's what they did. And these top players, if you do that for them, then they usually take it, and that's what Neto did, and that's all that these top sides need, is that one little opening.
Once a striker, always a striker, though, Dino. You paused there to say former. Always a striker in my eyes. This is FA Cup Game Day Live. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 at half-time. Second half action coming next on a huge day of FA Cup fourth round action here on Talksport. We'll also speak to John Norman as well after that thrilling win for England's cricketers in Hyderabad.
The Emirates FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
You may not know that you have the power to compare great loan deals with Compare the Market.
Oh, I've got one. Did you know there's no word that rhymes with wolf?
Carl, we're talking about loans.
But it's another thing people may not know.
Meerkat your loan with the power to compare. We'll check your eligibility without it affecting your credit score, with a range of deals available. Find a loan that's right for you.
Move, Zoof. Oh, Wolf! Oh, no, that's the word.
Compare the Market Limited acts as a credit broker, not a lender. Credit is subject to status, UK residents and 18 plus only.
At Barclays, we know money can be tricky to navigate. We're here to help you find your way around it. Barclays Life Skills gives you the skills and knowledge to help you become more confident with money. So whether it's learning to keep track of your spending or interview tips to help you secure that new job, we've got you covered. Join the millions we've helped so far. Search Barclays Life Skills. Barclays. Make money work for you.
At 3 Business, we think you should get more for less. With our boundless business offer, the whole team gets unlimited calls, data, and texts. And the more SIMs you buy, the more you'll save. All on the UK's fastest 5G network. That's what we call big value. Search 3 Business or visit us in store.
Unlimited in the UK, based on Ookla speed test intelligence data H1 2023. See 3.co.uk.
Hey, Hotels.com here. Tired of the everyday? We know a hotel that's ready to unwind this weekend. Book hotels with spas in the Hotels.com app. Find your perfect somewhere.
Stop smoking this new year and good things start to happen. You'll feel healthier and be taking the stairs 2 at a time before you know it. You no longer need 12 air fresheners hanging in your car. You'll have more money in your pocket. Your hands get kept busy in other ways, like throwing a frisbee in the park for your kids or someone else's dog. Stopping smoking is the best thing you can do for your health. There's still time to make 2024 the year you quit. For free support, search Smoke Free.
Everyone knows that saving energy saves money. But you don't have to go hardcore to beat the meter. Here's a tip. Every time you load up the washing machine, turn the temperature down to 30 degrees. It'll clean your clothes and could save you up to £20 a year in energy bills. Wash, save, repeat. It all adds up. Find more energy-saving tips at gov.uk/save energy.
The McDonald's Saver Meal Deals have it all, like the classic cheeseburger Saver Meal Deal, including medium fries and a drink for just $3.99, or the delicious double cheeseburger meal deal, which is twice as nice for just $4.79. But there's more. For $3.99, you can get the mouth-watering mayo chicken meal deal, all in a delicious bun. Phew, I'm talking so fast because we all like getting our money's worth, and that's why I've only got 20 seconds to tell you about the McDonald's Saver Meal Deals. From 11 a.m, not available on delivery.
Virgin Media Winter Sale. See what you can do. Visit virginmedia.com. Virgin Fibre areas subject to restrictions and credit checks. Savings on selected bundles only, and 7th of February terms apply.
Hola! Einstein here, just out tucking into tackles and the best business advice with my friend Deborah Meaden.
Because much like a recipe, in business you've got to get the basics right.
Indeed, and a smart meter can help you track your energy use and costs over time. Oh, I think I miscalculated the hot sauce.
So, that's more control of your business budgeting, at least.
Search Get a Smart Meter for Business today. Eligibility may vary. Consumer action required.
The McDonald's Saver Meal Deals have it all, like the classic cheeseburger Saver Meal Deal, including medium fries and a drink for just $3.99, or the delicious double cheeseburger meal deal, which is twice as nice for just $4.79. But there's more. For $3.99, you can get the mouth-watering mayo chicken meal deal, all in a delicious bun. Phew, I'm talking so fast because we all like getting our money's worth, and that's why I've only got 20 seconds to tell you about the McDonald's Saver Meal Deals. From 11 a.m, not available on delivery.
Listen, mate, these billionaires can keep their money. Our club, Hartlepool, it's got something money can't buy.
I've read the news. We've been bought by an oil baron.
Yeah!
Loads of money, transfer money. Who cares about FFP? The title is back on.
Well, they certainly changed their tune. And here's one for you. If one leg of your bet builder lets you down, get a free bet. Paddy Power. Pre-match online bets only. 5+ legs, min total odds 3-1. Max free bet varies from £1 to £50 and is valid for 7 days. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
The Emirates FA Cup live on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18+. Please drink responsibly.
Levitate above the humdrum.
FA Cup Game Day Live
on Talksport.
This is FA Cup Game Day Live on Talksport. I'm Faye Carruthers. Thanks for sharing your Sunday lunchtime with us for this raucous Flat Country derby. It's spicy in the stands with gold flares let off. Clinical on the pitch, though. from the visitors. And with the score, West Brom 0, Wolves 1. Let's have a listen to the half-time highlights with Carling.
The Emirates FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
West Bromwich Albion and Wolverhampton Wanderers are clubs awash with history amid the hostility and passion of a black country derby. There is absolutely no doubt the FA Cup matters inside the Hawthorns here on this Sunday lunchtime. And Wallace, who looks to chop back into the penalty area beyond Totti, fires the ball in towards that near post, headed behind by Craig Dawson, and it's a corner for Albion within the opening 30 seconds. Neto sprinting clear here for West Bromwich Albion, up towards the edge of the penalty area, rides one challenge, fires in the shot, and Neto scores a classic breakaway goal in the Black Country derby. Seconds before, West Bromwich Albion had a corner. It was a poor delivery, and Wolves swept downfield, and the old gold is glittering inside the Hawthorns. It's West Bromwich Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
Those are your half-time highlights, thanks to Carling.
The Emirates FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup and Adobe Women's FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Well, it's been a cracking day of sport, with England winning the first test against India in Hyderabad, which you heard live over on Talksport 2. We'll speak to our cricket editor, John Norman, really shortly. In the tennis, Yannick Sinner has just won his first ever Grand Slam title, coming from 2 sets down to beat Daniel Medvedev in the Australian Open final. We have 4 FA Cup fourth round matches taking place here on Talksport today. We've got commentary of 3 of them for you. Liverpool Norwich is at 2:30 and Newport County against Manchester United is at 4:30. We'll also have updates from the next one to kick off at 2 p.m. It's an all-championship tie between Watford and Southampton. Ian Abrahams is at Vicarage Road for us, and Ian, these two only met 6 weeks ago in the league. Nothing separated them then. What are we expecting today?
Yeah, I was here, Faye, for that one, a 1-1 draw. Probably something quite similar, although neither side, having spoken to people who are concerned with both sides, really want a draw here. Russell Martin Saints unbeaten in 21 in all competitions. You have to go back to September the 23rd for the last time they were beaten. Cruise past Walsall 4-0 in the last round. Watford made a right meal of beating Chesterfield here, though, 2-1, and will need to improve on that, though, today. There'll be plenty of changes from both sides. It's a sunny afternoon in Hertfordshire, and a place in the last 16 of the FA Cup is there for the taking. It's Watford against Southampton, and we start at 2.
Wonderful stuff, thank you very much, Ian Abrahams. I wish it was sunny here at the Hawthorns. It's a bit gloomy, actually, and especially if you're a West Brom fan, which my producer Carl sat next to me is, very unhappy after conceding that late goal in the first half. Second half action to come, but earlier on today, England's first test in India came to a thrilling conclusion live on Talksport 2. Here's how the winning moment sounded.
Here's Hartley.
Down the wicket he goes! Stumped! Hartley has 7! Tom Hartley's got 7 wickets and England have won the test match by 28 runs. Hartley takes his 7th wicket. India are bowled out for 202. Their target was 231. And a classic test match comes to an end with England winning by 28 runs.
Wow, it was absolutely incredible. Talksport's cricket editor John Norman was keeping us updated all morning. John, a couple of days ago, we never would have seen that conclusion, would we?
A day ago we wouldn't have seen that conclusion. Let's just take you back 24 hours, Faye, because, you know, at one stage yesterday, England were halfway through their innings. They were 5 wickets down, and they still hadn't scored enough runs to make India bat again. The last 2 at the crease were Ben Foakes, who hasn't played a test match in nearly a year, and Ollie Pope, who was injured in the second Ashes test match of the summer back in August. Pope had been out for 1 in first innings and looked jittery. Foakes hadn't scored too many more, he made 4. And yet the 2 combined to put on 100 and just ease the pressure back on India. There were partnerships of note. There was still plenty of work to do when the batters came back this morning. Folks departed last night. But Ollie Pope with an innings of a lifetime and partnerships with Ahmed of over 50, Hartley as well. What a test he's had, by the way. And he was the last man out by 196. It flipped the game on its head. It meant that it was now pressure on India. 231 runs to win on a turning track on day 4 in India by a team that are not used to being under pressure. But they were under pressure, and boy, did it tell today. They got off to a decent start, but then they lost wickets and they lost them in clumps. And it came the way of the most unlikely source. Hartley, who late on day 1 went for 63 from 9 overs, took 7 wickets today on debut. He took the first 4 batters to fall, 3 of them before tea, and then what? India were 119 for 7 in a blink of an eye and out of this contest before a partnership that went over 90 minutes, a football match between Ashwin and Bharat, before Hartley and Root combined once again to nip out the final 3 as the shadows lengthened in Hyderabad. A wonderful test, a miraculous win, and it means that England will head to visit Patna, where the second test will get underway live and exclusively on Talksport 2. 1-0 up in the series after beating India by 28 runs.
Brilliant stuff, John Norman. It was absolutely incredible. You can listen to the following on podcast to hear all the dissection of that test and preview the second test, which starts on Thursday. We also have a YouTube channel as well, so go and check that out. So much live sport for you here on the Talksport network, with a place to be for all the biggest games, tests and sporting moments. And we were at Portman Road yesterday for Maidstone's historic win over Ipswich, the National League Southsider, in the draw for the 5th round of the FA Cup, which will bring you live here on Talksport at around 2 p.m. before we build up to Liverpool against Norwich at Anfield. There's going to be some atmosphere up there after Jurgen Klopp's announcement on Friday that he's leaving the club he's been at for the last 8.5 years at the end of the season. So the question is, will West Brom or Wolverhampton Wanderers have booked their place in the last 16, or will they need a replay? It was finally poised here at the Hawthorns. The Wolves now have the edge. We're just waiting for the players to make their way back out here for this second half. Dean Ashton and Nigel Adderley are standing by for us. Chaps, what do you think is going to unfold in this next 45 minutes, and what's Carlos Corberán going to have said to his team?
I think he'll be pleased with most of that first half. I just wonder whether he needs to change a few things. I think with Chalobah, I don't see what he's really bringing to the side, if he's going to play that far forwards as he has done with Yukuzlu and Mowat playing a lot deeper. I think that could be the one change that he could make. Maybe not at half time, but certainly towards the start of that second half. But Nige, actually, since the goal, Wolves have been pretty comfortable, haven't they?
They have, and I think they were fairly comfortable before the goal as well. Ironically, the only threat really came from high balls into the penalty area from set pieces, and when Albion tried to do something clever from a corner kick, that's ultimately what cost them. So I think you look at the bench, there aren't too many options for West Brom. Of course, there are financial issues here at the Hawthorns, and he's not really been able to maybe bring the players in that he'd like to. But I agree with what you said in the first half. I think Tom Fellows, who's only a young player, but he could have a bit of quality to try and add some creativity to a side which was lacking it during the first half.
I tell you what, Wolves are making West Brom sweat. You can hear them coming out now, surrounded by boos for the 3rd time this afternoon. Ahead of this second half, West Brom were out a good minute and a half or so before their Black Country rivals, but we are getting ready for this second half. Please sit back and enjoy it in the company of Dean Ashton, 2006 FA Cup runner-up, alongside your match commentator, Nigel Adderley.
Thank you, Faye. A reminder of the two teams once again before the second half gets underway. Albion, Griffiths in goal, Furlong, Bartley, Kipra and Townsend the back four, Wallace, Mowat, Yukuzlu and Chalobah in midfield, with Swift looking to attack behind Thomas Asante. Wolves, Sarr in goal, Kilman, Dawson and Totti the back three, Semedo, Lamina, Doyle and Doherty across midfield, with Cunha, Neto and Bellegarde in attack, as Wolves get the second half underway, playing towards their supporters in the Smethwick end, away to the right hand side, wearing all gold and black, and West Brom in their blue and white striped shirts, white shorts and white socks, and they will be attacking their supporters in the Birmingham Road end. And they're looking to attack straight away here with Swift. Onto his right foot on the edge of the penalty area. Good shot from him. Clean connection, but straight at Jose Sarr once again.
Yeah, it's loose from Wolves. It's a poor touch from Doyle. Just allowed Swift to get onto that, and it's another poor ball as well.
And they're giving the ball away again, and here is Swift on the edge of the penalty area. Back to Kipre, the central defender, onto his right foot, tries to play it wide to Wallace. It does deflect into the path of Wallace eventually. Now back to Furlong. Chalabar takes over, and Wolves have given West Brom a couple of real opportunities here. Right at the start of the second half, it's back now to the halfway line, and Carl Bartley. And here is Yakuzlu, and Wolves have been given the opportunity to regroup both mentally and physically.
Yeah, they didn't make the most of those opportunities there. Needed to be quick and incisive, and in the end, a bit slow and ponderous from West Brom, albeit Wolves' sloppy start.
And now Wallace won't keep a ball in play on the far side, and it will be a goal kick. Wolves with more possession during the first half, but only 3 shots, 1 on target, the goal from Pedro Neto. West Brom with 7 attempts, 2 on target, but Jose Sarr has not really been worked so far, has he?
He's not been genuinely tested, no. A couple of opportunities he's just gathered, but this will suit Wolves, won't it? It means that West Brom have to come out. It means that there might be a few more gaps, and that's where they can be so dangerous still, with Cunha not really yet into the game, and of course Pedro Neto with that quality that he's shown already.
Half time in the WSL, Manchester United 2, Aston Villa 0. Nikita Paris with both of the goals. 0-0 still between Everton and Leicester. Chelsea getting their victory against Brighton 3-0 last night, as Josh Griffiths had no chance with the goal, as 4,000 Wolves supporters at his back in the second half as he finds Bartlett. 2.5 minutes played in the second half. Wolves leading here in the Black Country derby by a goal to 0. Dawson, though, with a slice up in the air, which encourages Thomas Asante to come forward. Lamina, though, clears with the help of Totti. Chalabar stretching out a leg, but it's into the path of Bellegarde, who was bowled over on the far side by Furlong, and it will be a free kick for Wolves on the halfway line. Don't forget, the round 5 draw coming up at the end of this game, followed by Liverpool against Norwich, the start of Jurgen Klopp's farewell tour, with Joe Shannon and Darren Bent at Anfield at 2:30. And then at 4:30, live and exclusive to National Radio on Talksport, Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce will bring you Newport against Manchester United. As Doherty brings it forward again, finding Bellegarde. Cunha involved, and it's back towards Doyle. And now there is space and time for Doherty to come infield onto his right foot. The cross in towards Lamina with a glancing header. And once again, it's a comfortable save for the goalkeeper, Josh Griffiths.
Well, he's shown, Lamina, in the Premier League that he can be dangerous, making those late runs into the box from midfield. He scored a couple of good headers already this season. And you just saw Doherty just looking for that run from Lamina. He beat Kipre in the air, but couldn't get the power on the header.
And you look at the bench for West Bromwich Albion, it is fairly thin in terms of experienced attacking options. Well, very thin indeed. Tom Fellows looks to be the most likely. And Wolves do have Ryan Ait-Nouri back on their bench today. Algeria were appalling at the African Cup of Nations, but that has been to Wolves' benefit here in this FA Cup tie, because he's back early and he's back on the bench.
Yeah, you're right. Carlos Corberán hasn't got a huge amount to pick from, has he? Thinner than Craig Dawson's hair.
Like, you've got room to talk. High ball played forward again for Kipre.
I'm allowed, though.
Yes. Now Swift spinning away from Lamina. Thomas Asante tries to flick it on towards Jed Wallace. All a bit too tight there in the midfield area for West Brom, and in the end the challenge comes in on Bellegarde. Dawson takes the free kick quickly, but with a rolling ball, and it will be an opportunity for Thomas Bramall to correctly ask him to take it again. We played 5 minutes in the second half. Wolves leading here by a goal to 0 in the FA Cup 4th round. Live on Talksport already today. England winning the first test dramatically in Hyderabad over on Talksport 2 inside 4 days. And the following on podcast and the Talksport Cricket YouTube channel, the best place to get all the reaction to a great day for England, as Kilman Plays it wide to this near side, just beneath us and Semedo. Carlos Corberan energetically urging his team to shuffle across as they eventually briefly win the ball back with Swift, who made a wafer-thin challenge on the edge of the penalty area in the build-up to the goal scored by Pedro Neto, and he's unable to keep the ball in play here.
No, just a little point about Max Kilman, who had really grown into the player that he's become in the Premier League, and with the view that we've got a couple of times, he's got a raking cross-field left-footed pass to find Doherty. A couple of times, that's something they've clearly looked at to work on.
It's all very scrappy and congested on this near side, and eventually Bellegarde barges over Mowat in the battle of the two number 27s, and it will be a free kick. But the greater quality, understandably perhaps, is coming from the Premier League team at the moment. The Albion supporters rather subdued away to our left-hand side. The noise is coming from the Wolves fans in the Smethwick end, because their team at the moment are on their way to round 5, and it would be a very rare but very welcome victory nevertheless at the Hawthorns if it stays like this, as it's hammered forward by Kilman again over the top, but Cunha knew he was offside and he allows Furlong to guide the header back towards Griffiths.
Yeah, lazy boy Cunha, lazy. He just didn't make the effort to get back and involved in the game, kind of watched what was going on, and then when it's cleared, you're offside.
Wolves' last away victory in the FA Cup came in very different circumstances, behind closed doors at Chorley in round 4 back in 2021. But a full house here at the Hawthorns today. Many gathered very, very early on this morning. As Swift brings it forward now on this near side, just a touch into his back from Neto, but he continues. It's cleared as far as Mowat. Early cross towards the far post. Wallace is waiting, heads it down, looking for Thomas Asante. Was he caught inside the penalty area? No penalty given. Swift plays it back in, and that's a moment of real controversy. Thomas Asante convinced he was fouled there by Kilman as he looked to apply the finishing touch.
I think this is a really tough call for the referee.
Now the crossing from Swift, and it's claimed by Jose Sarr, and on first viewing that looked like a penalty.
The one thing I would say is Kilman has got no interest in the ball. All he's interested in is making contact, shouldering across Thomas Asante, who I think is going to get there first. And Kilman just steps in, but I think it's very difficult to give that as a penalty, because he's just trying to defend and get his body in the way. He's not necessarily
he blocks his run 2 yards out.
But that's his job as a defender.
But he didn't get the ball. Anyway, here is Doherty coming forward now. 53 minutes played. Wolves looking to capitalise on that. Totti won't keep that ball in play on the far side. And a goal kick has been given. I know what you mean. It's his job to get his body across, but he made contact with Thomas Asante and didn't make contact with the ball. So, Thomas Asante would have scored.
I am looking from an ex-player's perspective, and I think Kilman's there. He is there. It's not like he's really stretching to get the ball. His body is fully there, and then Thomas Asante is pulling his leg back to try and shoot, in which he would then have to kick through Kilman, whose body's there. I would say it's not a penalty from my perspective. I would want it as a forward, but I don't think it is a penalty.
And of course, no VAR, so that's it, no penalty. But it's certainly got the West Brom crowd back in the game here. 54 minutes played. West Brom 0, Wolves 1. Live on Talksport, the only place you can hear all 3 FA Cup ties today. Liverpool against Norwich at 2:30, followed by Newport against Manchester United at 4:30. Tomorrow night over on Talksport 2, it is Blackburn against Wrexham with Sam Matterface and Mickey Gray. And we'll be around the grounds in the Premier League and the EFL on Tuesday. And there'll be commentary from the EFL Trophy quarter-final between Blackpool and Bolton. That's a famous FA Cup meeting in the past. And there'll also be more Premier League action featured on Kick-Off with Adrian on Wednesday. And then on Friday night, big game in the Championship from Ashton Gate. Leeds looking to go second away to Bristol City. That will be on the home of the EFL Talksport 2. 10 minutes into the second half here, as Kipre goes back towards Griffiths. But whatever happened inside the penalty area, that's the first real piece of constructive attacking play we've seen from West Brom for some time.
Yeah, it was a great floated ball to the far post. Jed Wallace unselfishly heading it back across for Thomas Asante to try and get on the end of.
Now Doyle on the far side, finding Lamina again, and it's back towards Totti. The Wolves are heading backwards at the moment. Dawson all the way back towards Jose Sarr. And now Neto, quickly seized upon by both Mowat and Kipre. Thomas Asante looking to find Swift. It's cut out by Kilman, but Townsend coming forward now for West Brom. Swift infield again towards Mowat on the edge of the penalty area. Wide to the left-hand side, and Swift who tries to play in Mowat, but it's further wide towards Townsend after the initial ball was blocked. Now Kipre throws a couple of shapes under pressure from Bellegarde and goes back to the halfway line, and Yakuzlu infield again towards Chalobah. Townsend looking to work the 1-2 with Swift, but Wolves here standing firm. Their defensive line on the edge of the penalty area. They've got every old gold shirt behind the ball here inside their own half.
Yeah, they're not apologetic about sitting right behind the ball and making it difficult for West Brom. I think that is the tactic against West Bromwich Albion, because they're not necessarily got that genuine quality at times. I think there are a lot of West Brom fans that feel that Carlos Corberán is eking every last ounce out of this squad.
Well, Dawson has been penalised here for a challenge on Thomas Asante on the halfway line. The free kick is taken quickly. Yakuzlu finding Furlong on the far side, the right. And now Wallace taking over. Chalobah in support. Wallace now cutting in field towards the edge of the penalty area. Jabbed on towards Mowat. It's all a bit too delicate though in that circumstance, and it's cleared away by Bellegarde. And here is Neto over the halfway line now for Wolves once again. 4 in support on the edge of the penalty area. Neto comes in field, threaded further forward into the box for Cunha. Looks for Bellegarde, but it's blocked by the retreating Swift, and it will be a corner kick to Wolves.
But again, you know, you've left yourself exposed on the counter-attack, West Brom. Neto down the right-hand side. You allow him to come onto his left. Plays a cute little ball in. It's Doherty who's made a run in there. Couldn't quite then feed it backwards. But again, don't let Neto come onto his left foot.
We'll get team news from the 2 o'clock kickoff in the FA Cup. Watford against Southampton shortly following this corner kick on this near side for Wolves, which the goal scorer Pedro Neto will take under grey skies here now in the Black Country. A second goal for Wolves, and it's surely all over. Played short towards Bellegarde. He can attack now down the right-hand side. The cross, though, is blocked by Townsend. Spins back towards Neto. Deep ball in from him. Nodded back in field towards Lamina. His header towards goal, though, is a simple save for Griffiths, who thinks about the early release and now does boom it high downfield. Looking for Wallace. Headed up in the air by Semedo. Semedo wins the second header unchallenged. Totti almost gives the ball away to Thomas Asante, and it's hammered away all the way downfield by Dawson. So let's go to Vicarage Road. Team news for Watford against Southampton, and Ian Abrahams.
6 changes for Watford. Nige, Backman, Pollock, Lewis, Bayo, Martins and Sirialta come in. As for Southampton, 9 changes. Only Shea Adams and Taylor Holwood Bella survived from the win at Swansea. Joe Lumley's in goal, and Jack Stevens skippers aside a day after his 30th birthday.
Thanks, Ian. Opportunity now for Wolves from a quick throw and deep into the penalty area down the left, but the cross in from Cunha closed down by Bartley at the expense of a corner.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they realised West Brom can't be offside from a throw-in. Cunha just stood there and they threw it quickly to him. Bartley did brilliantly in the end to use those huge legs to stride into the path of Cunha, or else he would have just been playing that across for Neto.
I think something's been thrown onto the field on the far side. It's the area of the pitch between the West Brom and Wolves supporters. Tommy Doyle is taking the corner, and at least 2 items have been thrown. A third one now as Doyle plays the corner in towards the near post, and that bottle was very close to hitting Tommy Doyle there as he took the corner kick into the penalty area.
Yeah, there was no trying to hide that, was it, from the West Brom fans just throwing bottles at Tommy Doyle. Disgusting to see.
An hour played. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 in the FA Cup at the Hawthorns, live on Talksport.
I wonder how they'd like it if they were just sat at work and somebody came over and just threw.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Now Townsend plays it forward for Thomas Asante. Down this near side. Back again towards Mowat. Yakuzlu in support, but it's further back to Kipre. And Albion just lacking a bit of inspiration now, and they bring the ball forward. It's all rather laboured, and just a lack of pace collectively is really hampering them.
Which is why I'd make the change. It's why I'd bring on Fellows, and I'd say to Swift, you go and get yourself nice and close to Thomas Asante. See if you can get that on the half turn, closer to the penalty area to create for us.
And don't forget, breakfast returns tomorrow, 6 a.m. with Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoist. David Lloyd, Steve Harmison and Alex Stewart will be reflecting on today's thrilling victory for England in the Test match. High ball into the penalty area here. Sarr drops it, but he was fouled by Townsend, and it will be a free kick. On breakfast tomorrow, they'll also be discussing Jurgen Klopp's announcement. He is leaving Liverpool at the end of the season. They'll reflect on what's been already a dramatic weekend in the FA Cup. Talksport breakfast with Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoist from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And Jose Sarr is up, he's okay. He took a whack in the back from Townsend. He's trying to win that floated ball in from Furlong, but you're right, Nige, they're struggling with what to do. Their only option really is to get it wide and get crosses in. But then are you getting the numbers in the box to really
They've only
cause
got
any problems?
Thomas Asante to hit.
Yeah, he's not got the support, he's not got players running beyond him to try and displace that Wolves back line.
Free kick taken by Jose Sarr, high up towards the halfway line. Only 3 clean sheets in 19 games for him in the Premier League so far this season, but standing firm at the moment. But a long way to go in this game. Doyle with a poor touch on the far side, straight out of play. It will be a throw-in for Albion, and this will be the opportunity to load the penalty area for a Darnell Furlong long throw. And that's what he will do, about 20 yards from the corner flag on the far side. Kipre and Bartley are both forward, along with Yakuzlu. Once again, Albion taking a risk here, throwing bodies forward in search of the equaliser. Furlong with a flat long throw in towards the near post, headed away by Doherty. Yakuzlu will keep the ball in play on the far side, finds Swift. Swift now in a confined space, looking to create something, and in the end the ball goes out of play, and it will be a Wolves throw-in, and the opportunity comes to nothing for the home side.
They've defended those reasonably well, actually, Wolves, the long throws. They've not allowed yet one that's able to be flicked on to cause the problem. It's not the first header that they're going to worry about, it's then once that's flicked on, can you make sure you track the runners? But they've won, or at least got something on that first contact.
64 minutes played. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 in the FA Cup 4th round, live on Talksport. And at the moment, this game is going to form, with 5th in the Championship losing to 11th in the Premier League, despite all of the local rivalry and everything that brings. Now Lamina, able to twist and turn away from a challenge on the far side, comes in field, brushes aside Chalabar. His cross in though is blocked, but it will be recovered by Semedo. Semedo now with the opportunity to play it back towards Doyle, who kills in a great cross into the 6-yard area. Lunging in was Mateus Cunha. Gary O'Neill stands there, head in hands, because he knows that was a fantastic delivery which deserved to finish for the second goal.
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it, from Tommy Doyle. The only thing I would say is I'm not sure you expect this as a forward, because he's quite central and he's not really looked up, and he's bent it behind a West Brom defender into a great area, but it just means then Bellegarde and certainly Cunha couldn't quite stretch to reach it. I don't think they expected it.
Now Griffiths under pressure from Neto, clears it long downfield. Totti rising above Wallace, and it will be a throw-in for Albion on the far side. Darnell Furlong will take it. And he does have the option to try and hurl it down the channel, looking for Thomas Asante, which is what he does. He then goes down with Totti, and in the end the linesman was very close there. Blake Antrobus didn't raise his flag, and the referee says play on.
I don't think it was a lot, it was just a coming together between Thomas Asante and Totti Gomez. And Wolves, they're just happy, aren't they? They're happy to sort of slow things down, start the game. They're not really pushing forward too much.
Well, Wolves have beaten Manchester City, Tottenham and Chelsea this season, but if it stays like this result would mean more to the fans than any of their successes in the Premier League, because it means going back to work tomorrow morning or going back to school. And some of your mates may be West Brom fans. And there's going to be a double change now. In fact, only one change made for West Bromwich Albion, and it's the change we anticipated, with Nathaniel Chalobah replaced by Tom Fellows.
Yeah, it's the obvious change. Chalobah's not really been able to affect the game, and I'd be amazed if it's not Swift who drifts into a more advanced role, unless they're looking to change the shape.
Fellows did score in the third round victory here against Aldershot.
Yeah, it looks like they might even have gone to a back three, West Brom, with Fellows as a right wing back and Jed Wallace tucking in with Swift just in behind Thomas Asante.
Totti finding Doyle on the far side, hammers it long. Bartley tries to play it forward quickly, but he's quickly closed down by Cunha, and Wolves have a throw-in in the end on the far side. 67 minutes played here on Talksport. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 in the FA Cup fourth round. The fifth round draw coming up just after 2 o'clock. Liverpool against Norwich at 2:30. Newport against Manchester United coming up at 4:30. Talksport, the only place you can hear all three FA Cup fourth round ties today. It has been a great weekend for the old competition so far. And we brought you Maidstone's victory at Ipswich live on Talksport yesterday. And there have been some fantastic goals in the competition as well. Now Townsend on this near side, back in field towards Swift. Once again, there's very little movement inside the penalty area, but Townsend will almost bring it forward as it was initially cleared by Kilman. It's kept in play by Neto on this near side. Semedo finding Lamina, and Lamina does well to check back away from the challenge of Mowat and find Neto, and he's quickly on his bike on this near side. He's got support from Bellegarde, and he's got West Bromwich Albion backtracking all the way up towards the edge of their penalty area. Back towards Lamina again. Doyle square towards Totti, and Totti can let fly here, but he plays a good disguised ball infield towards Bellegarde, who hits it right-footed just wide, and that would have been a brilliant goal.
That was close. That was really close from Bellegarde. Brilliant from Totti Gomez. Faked to shoot, then tucked it inside to Bellegarde. And that'll be his last action, but that was inches from that far corner as he tried to get the curl on it with the inside of his right foot.
And Jean-Rincert Bellegarde is coming off, and football has been a broad church this week for Ryan Aït-Nouri. On Tuesday he lost to Mauritania with Algeria in the African Cup of Nations. On Sunday he's coming on for Wolves in the Black Country Derby.
Pretty much the same.
I'm sure there'll be Mauritanian fans who'll be fuming. Well, Algeria were dreadful in the African Cup of Nations, but Aït-Nouri very quickly back in the Wolves team. And there's an opportunity for Thomas Asante to come forward now. Plays a good ball wide to the far side. Fellows can break into the penalty area. Back to Thomas Asante. Oh, he's hit it over the top. And that was a really good chance. Fellows picking out Thomas Asante right-footed, and he scooped it too high.
Yeah, it was a really good move. to the right-hand side for Fellows. So unselfish. All the bodies, Wolves' bodies, going towards the 6-yard box. So he cuts it back towards the edge of the box. Thomas Asante's there, coming onto it, and he's not balanced. And that's the difference between hitting the target and not. If you're not balanced, the chances are you're stretching, you're leaning back, the ball's going to go up and over the top. That's exactly what happened. It's a real chance for Thomas Asante.
Cleared downfield once again by Jose Sarr, and we are inside the final 20 minutes here on Talksport. Wolves still leading by a goal to nil, heading for their first victory at the Hawthorns since 1996. Now Kipre. And they barely scored a goal here since, but they've got the one that matters so far here today. Fellows chasing forward. Ait-Nouri caught under the ball. Fellows can control on the edge of the penalty area. Jose Sarr was some way off his line there, but Fellows unable to deal with the bounce of the ball, and it will be cleared away eventually by Ait-Nouri and Totti on the far side.
Oh, could he have just got his head up, Fellows, there, because Jose Sarr had committed himself.
But now it's been given away again, and Cunha is body checked by Bartley, but play continues because Ait-Nouri is sprinting clear here for Wolves up towards the edge of the penalty area. He's challenged by Mowat, and I think Thomas Bramall will come back here and he will book Carl Bartley for a full body slam on Mateus Cunha, which has left the Wolves player trampled in a heap on the halfway line.
Triple H would have been proud of this. It's like he just threw Cunha against the ropes, and as he came back, just forearms smashed him to the canvas. I mean, Cunha's disgusted with the fact that the referee just didn't stop it straight away. It's so obvious from Carl Bartley, just shoving the shoulder straight into his chest and chin.
Well, there were words exchanged afterwards between Dawson and Bartley, former teammates as well. And that's the sort of thing you used to see in places like West Bromwich Town Hall on World of Sport on a Saturday afternoon. That's one for the teenagers. 72 minutes played here. West Brom 0, Wolves 1 in the FA Cup 4th round on Talksport. The draw for round 5 coming up at the end of this game. And then Liverpool against Norwich with Joe Shannon and Darren Bent. Will get team news from Anfield in about 15 minutes' time. And then Newport against Manchester United with Adrian, Jim and Stuart at Rodney Parade. And there'll be some atmosphere inside there today. Some atmosphere inside the Hawthorns, but at the moment, West Brom just lacking the creativity and the inspiration to create the chance to maybe force a replay here.
I've been surprised actually how passive Wolves have been going forward themselves.
But they've given the ball away, Wolves. Doyle straight to Swift. Here is Thomas Asante. And it's further wide towards Townsend. Oh, the back heel from him was very risky. And it's cut out by Doyle. And now an opportunity for Semedo. He felt the contact from Townsend. And he goes down to get the free kick. Correct decision, but once again, West Brom not making the most of an opportunity given to them by a Wolves mistake.
No, and like I was saying, Wolves aren't really that interesting going forward. When the opportunity arises, then they'll give it a bit of a go. But they're saying to West Brom, come on, you're going to have to break us down. You have to give us a little bit more, or else we'll just try and plod our way through this half.
And there'll be a special programme of Wiedersehen Klopp on Monday night here on Talksport, looking at the future of Liverpool and what's next for the Reds and Jurgen Klopp. Danny Kelly joined by former Anfield favourite Danny Murphy, and the former Liverpool CEO Peter Moore will also be on the show. Auf Wiedersehen Klopp, Talksport, Monday evening from 7 o'clock on kick-off. Over on Talksport 2, the final FA Cup 4th round tie between Blackburn and Wrexham live from Ewood Park. Doyle with another loose ball, swept high across the field from right to left to the far side, straight out of play for a throw-in to Albion. And it's been one of those local derbies which has been all about the result, because in terms of overall quality it's been pretty average. But 15 minutes to play and there is still a story to be written here and heroism to be accomplished. Mowat charging forward now, wide towards the left-hand side for Albion. Townsend with the cross, looking for Wallace, headed away though by Totti. Doherty tries to bring it clear, but he's lost out to Yakuzlu. Here is Fellows now for Albion, down the right-hand side. Needs support, gets it from Furlong. Infield again towards Mowat. Kipre is the spare man on this near side. And now Townsend again, further forward in the wing-back role now, as Albion look to push on with 3 at the back. 15 minutes to play. Swift away from the challenge, fires him the shot right-footed, but it was always rising a yard or so over the top.
That's why he's got to play there, though, John Swift, because he's so good at just creating half a yard, taking it on the back foot, just shimmied away from Lamina, and he's got the ability to score from that position outside the area. He's probably about 1.5 yards over the top, but you can see the way it was almost a free kick technique, just trying to get it up and then dip in to the top corner.
Another local derby coming up next for West Brom in the Championship at home to Birmingham. But there is still time for them here. And to be honest, Wolves have offered very little going forward in the second half themselves. Now Kipre. All the way back towards Griffiths, is it? No. Yakuzlu. But it's scrappy in the midfield again as West Brom look to get it forward, and now Yakuzlu is penalised, having initially lost the ball for a heavy challenge on Lamina, and it will be a free kick.
Yeah, and you can just sense with every free kick that's given away by West Brom, just saps a tiny bit more of the energy, the atmosphere inside the Hawthorns. It's not been pretty from Wolves, but they won't care.
Winning local derbies often isn't pretty, and it was pretty ugly for Wolves the last time this game was played with fans, that 5-1 victory for Albion. Now Cunha, a long ball forward for him into the penalty area, fires it in low, and that settles it. Matthias Cunha wins the Black Country derby for Wolves. 4,000 fans delirious in old gold in the Smethwick end, and once again West Bromwich Albion caught out on the counter-attack. Matthias Cunha made no mistake, and there's no doubt Wolves own the Black Country here today in the FA Cup 4th round on Talksport. It is West Bromwich Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2.
And it is oh so simple from Wolves. All it was a clearance from Max Kilman. He just put it over the top, and as a striker, as a forward player, your job constantly is to anticipate, is to gamble, is to just think that a ball might be there. Probably 9 times out of 10 it's not, but the one time it is, you get yourself in behind. He's too quick, he gets away from Bartley, Cunha, he settles himself, he composes himself, and just as Griffiths comes out, he just slides it through the legs of the goalkeeper, simple as you like, for 2-0.
Well, there's some crowd trouble away to our left-hand side now, and there are fans spilling onto the running track, and there seems to be something going on here. There are also players from both sides heading across to this corner to see what's going on. The stewards and the police are piling into this area, and at the moment things have got very ugly very quickly here. The stewards are trying to usher the players away from the scene. There are fans all over the pitch around the corner flag on this near side, and things have suddenly boiled over. Whether it's Wolves fans in this area of the stand, I'm not too sure, but there is a good deal of acrimony. Punches have been thrown. The stewards and police are trying to keep supporters apart. On the actual running track, there are fans all over the pitch, and there are police now heading around towards the penalty area at the Birmingham Road end. And this is something we did not want to see here today. The security presence has been very, very strong, and now there is a police cordon on the field of play. Players are being ushered away from the situation. Gary O'Neill is on the pitch telling the Wolves players to get a long way from the scene. There is a supporter carrying a young child in tears away from the situation. They are now on the field of play. Another supporter has been carried off the field by a steward. And there is absolute chaos here on the running track beyond the stand on this near side. And I think it's Wolves supporters who have been celebrating that second goal And clearly that has antagonised people around them, but there's no excuse at all for what we've seen here.
They've completely lost it, haven't they, some of these supporters? Completely lost their heads. Yes, I'm sure it is to do with there being a possible Wolves supporter in there. You see just one man on his own in there being protected almost by the stewards as best they can.
And that's the area of the field where a number of the players' families are during the games, which explains why the players were heading across to that area. One or two people are being wrestled to the ground by the police and stewards. A policeman has had his helmet knocked off on this near side as he grapples with a supporter.
But you've also got supporters down there that have come from the other stands, run along.
Yeah, people have come out to the Birmingham Road end, across the pitch towards this near side to get involved.
But also they're throwing things at their own supporters, trying to hit the one, clearly the one guy they're clearly targeting. They're throwing things at their own supporters from down there.
Well, there was a child who was in floods of tears who has been brought away on this near side. The players now are just gathering around the technical area. They're trying to see what is going on from some distance. The police now are continuing to get reinforcements towards the playing surface on this near side, and they are still pulling people apart. They are still separating fighting fans in that stand.
They're trying to get that one person out somehow through the melee, with people still trying to throw things at him.
He's in a headlock, held back by a couple of stewards. But now more supporters are coming in from the Birmingham Road end towards that area, across the area of the running track between the two stands, and the police are having a real job to keep the supporters from the Birmingham Road end coming towards the main stand on this near side.
I mean, people are just trying desperately to throw punches at that one guy that they're trying to get out. The stewards and the police desperately trying to get this one person out of the ground, and the fans just won't let them, and they're swinging punches.
And now the players are going off. The Wolves players certainly are making their way down the tunnel at the moment, because players being halted. I think some tear gas or something has been let off, or certainly a flare of some sort has been let off on this near side. And they are still trying to get the relevant people out of that area of the stadium. The Albion players are still there, and yeah, you can see a number of the players trying to almost talk to members of their families who are in that part of the ground, which is very close to a family stand here. There are lots of children in there as well. And now the corner flag has been picked up and thrown onto the field of play by somebody. A smoke bomb has been let off in the midst of all of this, and the steward is trying to deal with this. And on the occasion of a Black Country derby in the FA Cup, this is absolutely disgraceful.
What a shameful image for football, English football. You know, you've got the police having to come over there, trying to arrest a man on the floor in that side. The smoke bombs are...
Well, Carl Bartley has now gone across, and I think he's pointing out members of his family, and one of the stewards is going across to ensure that they are being led to safety as well. And there are still people coming across the field of play from the Birmingham Road end. They're trying to calm that down now. I think one of the advertising hoardings was knocked down. There's a large row of stewards and police in that corner of the ground now, trying to keep West Bromwich Albion supporters going from one stand into the other. Carl Bartley is still there, pointing out members of his family to a steward. The remaining West Bromwich Albion players are heading down the tunnel, and there is no certainty at the moment when this game will carry on. And now beneath us, there is another problem developing. More fans are grappling, and more young children are being pulled out of the stand by concerned parents. This is absolute madness.
They just can't get control at the moment. There's too many little sections. Again, as a woman just tries to
just get a kid out of the ground, get him to safety. And they're going down the stairwell now to get out of the stadium. And this is a day that so many young fans were looking forward to, and now it will be remembered. And Carl Bartley is carrying a young child away from the situation. I think it could be one of his own children, and he's got his child out of the stand, and I think he's taking more children now away from the situation. Darnell Furlong is there as well, and Bartley is leading members of his family along the touchline now, and they will go down the tunnel to safety, and it's an incredibly difficult situation for the players. You're in the biggest game for many, many years. Your family are watching in the stand expected, and it's all kicking off around them, and that's why Carl Bartley is very carefully making sure his children get away from the situation.
Yeah, what a disgusting position to have to find yourself in as a player, to think that you have to go in and get your family and your children, very young children, out of the stand where there's trouble. How is that not enough of a sign to the supporters to get back in your seats?
And there's more idiots letting off blue smoke bombs now around that area. There is a row of, I would think, about 50 policemen, and they're being supported by a similar number of stewards in their orange coats. A gentleman in a wheelchair is being taken away from the situation. A smoke bomb has now been thrown onto the pitch as well. And there are similar numbers of stewards and police at the other end of the stadium to just make sure that something similar doesn't happen in that area between the Wolves and the West Brom fans at the other end of the ground.
I mean, you just wonder, A, how long this could take, and B, whether they can end up controlling things. I mean, look, the stewards, they're not trained and they're not ready for these situations. That's why there's such a big police presence, who are a little bit slow in getting down to that situation. They're starting to look like they may have started to contain that side of the ground, because it was behind the goal where they started flooding down and towards the corner.
Well, there are more people with small children talking to stewards around the running track, very close to the field of play. I think they're simply trying to get out of the situation here. There was a big sign on the scoreboard on the far side saying, please return to your seats. Entering the field of play is a criminal offence. But so many people inside the Hawthorns have ignored that. And this is a day which will be remembered for all the wrong reasons, particularly for West Bromwich Albion.
Well, it will. You know, you've got two clubs. I'm sure the prestige of being live on the telly, live on the radio.
And let's not forget, these scenes are being beamed around the world.
Well, of course they are. It's a disgusting, shameful situation for English football to find itself in, that this can still happen. I mean, look, there's people behind the police there that are jumping up as if this is fun, as if this is why they've come here.
Well, there is a scorch mark on the pitch now where a smoke bomb was thrown on just outside the penalty area away to this near side. They are taking more and more people away in the arms of the police here to try and keep a lid on this situation. And now at the other end of the ground, they're just trying to do something similar. One of the advertising hoardings has come down at the other end of the stadium, in the opposite corner here, in the area between the Wolves and the West Bromwich Albion supporters. This is in the area of the ground where the West Bromwich Albion fans are. And how on earth can they carry on the game in this situation?
Well, I'm not sure. It's going to take a while, I still think, to get control of both corners of the ground. You know, that the levels of disdain clearly for the opposition, and certainly for that person that I think things started off with, is clearly there. But there's people that I can see, supporters that you can see in the West Brom end, they look like they've got nothing to do with football, no interest whatsoever in actual football here, and actually enjoying and revelling in the fact that they've caused this situation.
Well, to remind you, Wolves lead by 2-0, but Faye, no prospect of more football at the moment.
Certainly not. I'm trying to find out at the moment from friends and colleagues that we have in the tunnel here at the Hawthorns exactly what the situation is with the players. The West Brom analysts who are actually sat next to us here in the gantry went straight back down, so it might seem as if they're thinking that they could come back out. But until the police have contained this situation, which it looks like they're getting on top of right now, we are highly unlikely to see any of the players return to the field of play. What I knew immediately when Nigel was describing the scene below us so vividly is that Kyle Bartley had been waving to friends and family in this stand just below us at the beginning of the game. That is why all of the players went over there. My initial instinct was, why are they going over to exactly where the trouble is? And Gary O'Neill was trying to get the Wolves players to step away, and they were one of the first to go down in the tunnel. But some of the scenes that we saw down here, actually some of the Wolves players were speaking to some West Brom fans and comforting them after they'd been caught up in a number of the melees that had been going across this stadium here at the Hawthorns. But what now needs to happen is to make sure that those who have been causing trouble, exactly as Dean Ashton has just said, are removed, so potentially this game could get back on. But of course, now it's all kicking off on the far side of the East Stand, with West Brom fans in that far corner who have been goading between the two of them, the Wolves fans who are in the Smethwick end right next to them, and it seems to be kicking off slightly on that side, and that is where we saw the bottle hurled in that second half when one of the Wolves players was taking a corner. Tommy Doyle, thank you for reminding me, Nigel. But you cannot do this at a football ground. It's absolutely disgraceful.
I mean, this is the game which will be remembered for this now, not what we've seen, not the goals. It'll be remembered for the crowd trouble, and the scenes around the world will be children in tears being led away from a situation. They've come to a football match, the biggest football match they've probably ever seen in their lives, looking at the age of them, and they may never want to go to a football match again. That's the problem. And we think those days have gone, and clearly they haven't.
No, they haven't. And we knew that this was going to be a feisty Black Country derby. It's the first Black Country derby that we've seen in front of fans for 12 years. They played each other back in 2021, but that was still in the pandemic times when games were being played behind closed doors. But for anybody who's just listening and tuning in to Talksport, thanks for being with us this afternoon. We've got a huge day of FA Cup fourth round action to bring you, but proceedings have paused here at the Hawthorns in this massive game between West Bromwich Albion and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Nigel Adderley, explain to anybody just tuning in exactly what's just happened.
Well, it was after the second goal from Matthias Cunha, which put Wolves 2-0 up, and all of a sudden there was a disturbance away to our left-hand side in the corner of the ground between the main stand here, the West Stand, and the Birmingham Road end, which is exclusively populated by West Bromwich Albion fans on a regular basis. It's possible there were Wolverhampton Wanderers supporters in there celebrating the second goal. Very quickly things got very ugly. Police and stewards were getting involved. Fans were coming across the pitch from the Birmingham Road end, West Bromwich Albion supporters, to get involved with whatever was happening. That's the area of the ground where a number of the players' families were, particularly Carl Bartley and Brandon Thomas Asante went across with Darnell Furlong. They were concerned. We've seen players plucking their children out of the crowd. We've seen other children in floods of tears now, and there is a large line of police and stewards keeping apart West Bromwich Albion fans in the same area of the ground, and now at the other end of the ground, in the area between the Wolves and West Bromwich Albion supporters, there has been another disturbance. So in either corner of the ground at the moment now, we have hundreds of police and stewards. Another gentleman in a wheelchair is being wheeled away. I mean, that's the wheelchair area as well. How on earth do they feel when they're in a situation where people are running past them to try and cause trouble? People in wheelchairs are now being taken out of the situation as well. The players milled around in the technical area for 5 minutes or so. They've now headed down the tunnel. The players have managed to get members of their family away from the situation. They've gone away as well. And at the moment, 2-0 to Wolves, but no prospect of a repeat. And there are paramedics now heading across towards the far side into the area between the supporters of both clubs.
And there's also a stretcher just below us on the left-hand side as well, with paramedics ready to attend to somebody who looks to have been hurt in the crowd over there as well. Just down towards the tunnel, Gary O'Neill has just come out to speak to some of the officials here at the Hawthorns and find out exactly what's going on. We haven't heard anything official in terms of whether or not this game will restart or not, or if the recommendation is that the players do not continue this fixture. And that in itself brings up a lot of questions, Nigel.
Absolutely. At the moment, you can't see this game continuing with fans inside the stadium. Somebody else is being led away now by the police at the other end of the stadium, which is the part of the ground between the East Stand and the Smethwick end. The Wolves fans have been standing there in the main, but I would imagine there have been Wolves supporters in this area of the ground, and that would have caused the initial problem, and very quickly things kicked off. I think it's been simmering, to be honest, at the other end of the ground. We've seen bottles thrown during the game as well. Tommy Doyle was trying to take a corner, and at least 2 or 3 bottles were thrown very close to him before all this happened. And at the moment, Dean Ashton, you can't see this game carrying on.
No, because it's still not settled.
With fans inside the stadium.
It's still not settled. It hasn't, has it? We've literally just seen a gentleman be arrested and taken across the pitch and out. He's got a bloodied head with a patch on it that they're holding. So there's a paramedic next to him, plus the police carting him out. And that still hasn't settled in that far side. It does seem to have settled slightly in this corner.
But there are still fans on the running track.
But the whole point is that this game was put on at 11:45 for a reason. These games are put on early for a reason, to hopefully stop these sorts of things. Surely it can't just be this. Is there more that's been simmering at this football club for a lot longer for this to have erupted in the way that it has done? I mean, it's such a horrific look for English football and for West Bromwich Albion.
I mentioned at the beginning of the game that I was up at the Stadium of Light for the game in the third round of the FA Cup between Sunderland and Newcastle, and what the police had done with that game, they had made the Newcastle fans only be allowed to arrive at the Stadium of Light in coaches. They weren't allowed to make their own way to the ground. There was an enormous police presence, and
now a gentleman has been led away on a stretcher on this near side from that corner of the ground where the trouble initially happened, and he has been strapped onto a stretcher, and the paramedics are taking him to polite applause from the West Bromwich Albion supporters. He looks to be a West Bromwich Albion fan, and presumably he will be taken down the tunnel.
So I can give you an update from our colleagues down in the tunnel here at the Hawthorns, who've said the decision at the moment is that they're going to give it 10 minutes or so to see whether things calm down, and then make the final call whether they restart this game with 10 minutes left to play or not. We've got a huge day of FA Cup fourth round action to bring you here on the Talksport network. This is just the first of 3 commentaries that we're bringing you. The second that we're bringing you is up at Anfield on a really emotional day for Liverpool fans after Jurgen Klopp's announcement that he's leaving the club after 8.5 years at the end of the season. And we can get the team news for that one at the moment. They face Norwich City, and Joe Shannon will be watching.
Thank you, Faye. There are 5 changes for Liverpool, including a return for Alisson in goal. Konate, Jota and Jones all start, as does 19-year-old James McConnell, a former Sunderland youth player, his first ever senior start in a Liverpool shirt. Kelleher, Van Dijk, Elliott, McAllister and Diaz make way. For Championship Norwich City, there are 6 alterations. Long, Hanley, McCallum, Hernandez, Fasnacht and Barnes all come in. Gunn, Duffy, Yanulis, Sargent, Sainz and Rowe all drop out. Kick-off at 2:30, Liverpool against Norwich, live on Talksport.
Thank you very much, Joe Shannon. I'll be speaking to both Joe Shannon and Darren Bent, who's on co-commentary today for that one very, very shortly. But here at the Hawthorns, in case you're just joining us, 10 minutes left of the huge Black Country derby between West Bromwich Albion and Wolverhampton Wanderers, and there was a huge melee just beneath us here in the stand at the Hawthorns, and play had to be stopped. We don't know if the game has yet been abandoned. We're expecting them to decide over the next 10 minutes and make a judgment call on whether things have simmered down enough for them to restart this game. But Wolves were leading by 2-0. West Bromwich Albion fans absolutely lost their heads at some point just below us, and we're trying to find out exactly what's going to happen with this game restarting, Nigel.
Yeah, just to remind people, there are 8 minutes of normal time to play, plus any added time. Wolves leading by 2-0, and then there was a melee away to our left-hand side at the Birmingham Road end of the ground. We have to say at this stage, we assume it was Wolves fans who were in there. Things very quickly escalated. Fans coming across the pitch from the Birmingham Road end terrace behind that goal. There were also players families in that area of the ground. So West Bromwich Albion players were trying to dive in to get their families out. All of the ball boys now are being taken away from the scene. They were around the pitch. They are being taken down the tunnel to safety. That's also the area of the pitch where there is a wheelchair enclosure, so it was a very dangerous situation for them, with people running across the field of play, and now there will be an announcement.
You must hold return to your seats if you are going to continue. You have to return to your seats.
And they are saying the game is going to continue and people should return to their seats. And we had trouble at one end of the ground, and then at the other end of the ground, in the area of the field between the Wolves and West Bromwich Albion supporters, there was trouble there as well. During the game, bottles were thrown in that corner of the pitch towards Tommy Doyle, the Wolves player, when he was about to take a corner kick earlier on. That has been simmering all day, we have to be honest. But it was at the other end of the ground where things really escalated very quickly. The police and stewards quickly arrived en masse to try and sort things out, but it has taken a long time. Play was halted around 25 minutes ago now. Players, of course, departed the field of play. The West Bromwich Albion backroom team are setting up the cones for a warm-up to allow the game to continue. But Dean Ashton, at the moment now, I think both sets of players will just be thinking, contractual obligation, just finish this game as quickly as possible.
Well, of course, I mean, look, they're going to have to come out and just get themselves warm again before they restart. And over that far side, more police have come in, and it's like they are trying to put a ring of police and stewarding all the way around the whole stadium in front of all of the stands to see if they can get this game finished without any more interruptions from fans running onto the pitch.
Well, both sets of players will have to warm up once again, and of course there's around 26,000 people inside the stadium today. All of them live within a 10-mile radius certainly, and of course they will all be leaving this stadium very soon, and all of the police inside the stadium here will very quickly have to get outside, because whatever they have planned for following this game will have to be enacted, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worry. Of course it is, for the safety of the supporters once they're out the ground also. But even if the game starts, you know, it's going to be a risk, isn't it? You know, if Wolves were to score again, how is the feeling going to escalate? It's a big job for the police and the stewards to make sure they get this game on again and continue safely.
Well, the police at the moment are continuing to linger in a large line of orange-jacketed policemen from the penalty area all the way across to the corner flag. I would think there's over 100 policemen there. The stewards are also supporting them, and it's a similar situation at the other end of the ground now. There was a heavy police presence outside the ground before the match, and now inside the ground. But it's difficult for them to police the entirety of the playing area, and we saw that before, Faye, when the players came onto the field of play or rather the supporters came onto the field of play to get across to that situation. But people were hauled out, people have been arrested, and I'm sure they will be looking at CCTV following this game, and there will be further repercussions.
Well, this is what's so ridiculous about people in these circumstances. We've seen it before, haven't we?
And there were enough people filming it on their phones as well, let's be honest.
Absolutely. And you do get picked out in these circumstances, and you're likely to get a lifetime ban for football. So why it still runs through people's heads that that's a sensible thing to do, I have absolutely no idea. There is a huge screen over on the far side that says, please return to your seats. Entering the field of play is a criminal offence. It is a criminal offence. It looks like we're going to get the players back out warming up soon, and we can play that final 8 minutes, as Nigel said. There'll probably be added time additionally to that as well. Just a reminder of the score for you. When play was paused in the 82nd minute, Wolverhampton Wanderers were leading West Bromwich Albion by 2-0. It does feel as if the atmosphere has calmed down very slightly. We're going to have an update from one of the games on the Talksport network today that we're not at. We're at 3 of the 4 FA Cup fourth round matches. We've got a couple of them coming up for you very shortly. At 2:30 it's Liverpool against Norwich City, and at 4:30 Newport County entertain Manchester United. But at 2 o'clock there's a kick-off at Vicarage Road. It's an old championship tie. It's between Watford and Southampton. Ian Abrahams, I'm presuming that things are a little bit calmer there.
Yeah, beautiful sunny day in Hertfordshire, a very quiet afternoon, although a lot of Southampton fans have made the journey, but absolutely no animosity between Watford and Saints fans. This game played 6 weeks ago in the Championship, ended 1-1. Neither side won a draw today. Faced 6 changes for Watford. It includes their goalkeeper Batman coming back. As for Emmanuel Dennis, who's rejoined the club, he's on the bench. And 9 changes for Southampton. The only 2 who survived from the last match against Swansea are striker Shea Adams and Taylor Harwood-Bellis. But it's a cracking afternoon. Unlike with you, a cracking atmosphere. It's Watford against Southampton.
Yeah, the atmosphere spilled over into something quite unpleasant here at the Hawthorns. It had been absolutely electric before that 82nd minute, and then when that second goal had gone in for Wolverhampton Wanderers, it had started to get very uncomfortable, and the events that we then witnessed here unfolded with supporters coming on to the field of play. The good news, it's calmed down. The better news, we might be getting some more football. There's 8 minutes left of normal time to play. All the cones are out for the players to be warming up. Dean Ashton's part of our commentary team. Dean, from a player's point of view, there are some of those players who Nigel was mentioning, Kyle Bartley being one of them, Darnell Furlong as well from West Brom, who are concerned about their families. In this kind of situation, you've got to go back inside, all your preparations. We can see the players in the tunnel, by the way, about to come out and do their warm-ups. What's going through your head as a player in this circumstance?
Slightly different in the fact that clearly they were worried for their family's safety, so that takes a different thing that they have to feel like they have to deal with, and they have to make sure that they're safe before I'm sure they even come back out to play any football. And I think as players, you just want this to be over and done with. You just want to get out, finish the game, and get back into the dressing room. Difficult for both sets of players who are now coming back onto the field, but this is your job, this is your profession. You've got to try and stay professional and continue.
Well, the 2 sets of players are back out. The delay now around half an hour, just after Matias Cunha added to Pedro Neto's goal to put Wolves in control of this tie. But if you're a West Bromwich Albion player now, particularly if you've got families involved in that area of the stand, then football is the last thing in your mind.
There's no Kyle Bartley who hasn't returned.
No. Well, he was taking his kids down the tunnel. So before the game gets back underway here, let's get a reminder of team news in our second commentary here on Talksport. At 2:30, big day at Anfield. Here's Joe Shannon.
And 5 changes to the Liverpool side that drew at Fulham on Wednesday to seal their passage through to the League Cup final. Alisson, Konate, Jones and Jota all return. There's a first senior start for young James McConnell. 6 changes for Norwich City of the Championship after their defeat away at Leeds on Wednesday evening. Long, Hanley, McCallum, Hernandez, Fastnacht and Barnes all come in to start.
Cheers, Joe, and we'll be with Joe at Anfield following the 5th round draw, which I assume will still take place at the end of this game, but it's going to be a bit tight now.
It's going to be very tight. We will be bringing you at that around 10 past, 2:15, heading over for that. By the way, whoever wins this, if West Bromwich Albion can get themselves back into it, Wolves currently leading by 2-0. There'll be ball number 4 in the draw, which is going to be fascinating. In these kind of circumstances, and we're seeing both managers standing at the moment talking to the officials, finding out exactly what's going to happen. But Dean, how long does it take players to warm up after that half-an-hour break?
Not massively long, to be honest, because you would continue to do a few bits inside the dressing room, keep yourself moving, because you wouldn't have known it would be half an hour. You might think it might be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, so you keep yourself moving anyway, and you've played most of the game, so your body's pretty warm. It's just a case of loosening back up, and they'll do that pretty quickly.
They are talking to the chief safety steward there on the halfway line, Gary O'Neill, Carlos Corberán and Thomas Bramall, the referee, and his officials, and I think they are just underlining what's going to happen here and what might happen in the next 10 minutes or so, because I'm sure the players and the managers are saying, look, safety is the priority here, and football isn't the priority at the moment, Faye, let's be brutally honest.
No, it absolutely isn't, and the scenes that we've witnessed here were...
Carlos Corberán looks absolutely sick.
He does, and I would be as well. You know, his wife is about to give birth. thank goodness he told her not to come today.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I know that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but she is due to give birth to their second child on Thursday, and he's now talking to the rest of his team about how they play this final 8 minutes. I mean, you say football isn't important, but it looks like they're going to have to play the rest of this game, so then attention turns back to the importance of it. What's he going to be saying to his players? How do you even... It's such a rare... you mentioned it, Dino. We don't have these kind of instances very often in English football anymore. It harks back to those disgusting times in the 70s and 80s, and it feels really uncomfortable when we see that yet again. How does it get into the players' heads? How do they get back into this, or do they just think, this tie is lost, let's just get out?
No, because you're a professional and you can... in the time that's left, you could score 2 goals. We've seen it so often. So they'll be being as professional as they can. This is a very, very strange situation for any player to deal with. But it's your job to be professional. It's your job to show the right temperament when you're on there, and try and lead by example for anyone in the stands with your actions.
There are going to be changes. Caleb Taylor is coming on, central defender for West Brom. Carl Bartley has gone off, which is understandable. His family is the main concern at the moment. And another youngster, Tawandra Chiera, is coming on for Wolves. A 20-year-old who did make his Premier League debut against Brighton in midweek. Signed from Ipswich. And he will be coming on as well. And there are still so many people milling around close to the playing surface around the halfway line. Television officials, stewards, safety officers, and they're all having a big discussion, Dean, because I'm sure they're trying to do some sort of contingency planning here for the end of this game.
Yeah, I would expect so. And also the actions, if anything was to happen again, what needs to happen from the players, the staff's perspective.
Jed Wallace, the Albion captain, also in conversation with Thomas Bramwell, the referee, and in the midst of all that, I think he did a really good job of getting the players off the field to play as quickly as possible and then down the tunnel. And our eyes inevitably are drawn away to our left-hand side where the trouble started. There are a number of empty seats now. Fans were leaving in that area of the ground after the second goal went in. Tommy Doyle is having some treatment as well, the Wolves player. They're just applying some ultrasound or something similar to the back of his left leg. And
yeah, that's a new one on me.
Yeah,
never seen that.
That means you're getting old, Dino.
Yeah, things have moved on since the magic sponge, Dino, let's be honest.
I've seen most physio instruments in my time, and I don't think I've seen that. Was he just warming his calf up, is he, with a little, what are they called?
Oh, anyway, they're those like radar guns, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the one.
Therapure gun things.
One of those, yeah.
They're painful anyway.
The two captains have been talking to the match officials. The two assistant referees have also been, I think, talking to the safety stewards, because, of course, they are the officials closest to the field of play. And Faye made the point, Dean, and it's a very fair one, that we don't see this now. And let's be honest, the stadiums aren't built for that sort of disorder now. Had this been played in the 1980s at the Hawthorns, there would have been fences. We don't want to see fences come back, but there has to be a responsibility as a paramedic makes his way away from the stand on this near side back onto the field of play. I think a couple of people did need medical attention during that incident. People have got to take the responsibility that if you don't want fences, you've got to behave.
I know, but that's the thing. We are not used to seeing that sort of action anymore. And the fact that clearly there was absolutely nothing to do with so many of the supporters behind that goal, yet they made it their point to run all the way across to
onto the field of play,
to try
commit a criminal offence,
to try and get involved.
Well, changes are going to be made. 3 players are coming on for Albion: Caleb Taylor, Eric Peters and Pippa. Carl Bartley is going off. Darnell Furlong is still out there. He was another one of the players concerned earlier on. Tawanda Chirua is come on to replace Neto. Eric Peters has also come on to replace Cedric Kipre. And Pippa will replace Connor Townsend.
But that has to be for a big reason, doesn't it? Because you wouldn't necessarily make those changes. You wouldn't have made those changes in real time. So you just wonder what has happened once the players have gone back into their dressing rooms.
They're footballers, but they're also human beings. And if you've seen your family in danger, it's understandable you don't want to play a game of football.
No.
Well, the game will restart with the kick-off following the second goal. So we have around 8 minutes of normal time to play. And the break was around 40 minutes. And we are back underway here at the Hawthorns with West Bromwich Albion trailing Wolves by 2-0. If you've just joined us on Talksport and you're waiting for the 5th round draw and our coverage from Anfield of Liverpool taking on Norwich City, we have had a delay here due to crowd trouble at both ends of the ground. Disgraceful scenes which unfortunately will be replayed around the world on this FA Cup 4th round weekend. And the match is back underway with Wolves leading here by 2-0. And looking at the body language of the players, I think both sets of players just want to get off this field as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's totally lost any sort of energy and willfulness from the players, it seems.
Trueau coming forward now for Wolves, but it's guided back by Eric Peters towards Josh Griffiths. And I would imagine the repercussions for West Bromwich Albion as the home team could be considerable. There will be an FA investigation into what's happened here, as it's given away on the edge of the West Brom penalty area, but Lamina has been penalised for the challenge on Mowat, and play continues. And according to the clock on the far side, we have 11.5 minutes to play. So,
I mean, so many of the West Brom supporters have left. You know, that far side there's so many empty seats. There's no atmosphere in the ground at all, because you will have, you know, the bulk of supporters that just want to come and enjoy the game, supporting their team, that then is totally ruined, and even they will be totally disgusted by their own supporters' actions.
79 minutes played here on Talksport in this match, which has been overshadowed by crowd trouble. It is West Brom 0, Wolves 2, and we still have Liverpool against Norwich coming up at 2:30, and at 4:30 it is Newport against Manchester United. And at the Birmingham Road end of the ground now, as the sun comes back out here at the Hawthorns, there are hundreds of police and stewards just ensuring that there is no repeat of the trouble. And there is a line of stewards all around the pitch here, down this near side, in front of the main stand, as Swift comes forward here for West Brom, but he's challenged by Kilman. Kilman then appeals for a throw-in, and eventually it goes Wolves' way. And in that area of the ground between the West Brom and Wolves fans on the far side, between the East Stand and the Smethwick end, there are riot police as well, who have not been deployed yet, we must say, but they are in the gap between those two stands. And the lines of police and stewards are even thicker than they are now at the other end of the ground, to just ensure that there will be no trouble in the part of the stadium which has the rival fans closest to each other. As Ike Norrie looks to chase forward here, he was just held back by Eric Peters, and it's all the way back towards Griffiths.
Yeah, the game's been completely sapped of any life, to be honest, and as Faye asked, so difficult for the players to suddenly try and turn it back on, to try and get back into the game. West Brom and Wolves, of course, they just want to get finished with the game as best they can.
9 minutes to play. West Brom 0, Wolves 2. Bright sunshine here now at the Hawthorns, ironically. Mowat for Albion, pokes it forward towards Thomas Asante. Now Swift, but he loses out to Kilman, who plays it straight out of play, and it will be a throw-in. And both managers are some way from the technical area now, and I would imagine even though they will have beaten their biggest rivals, the Wolves players will be straight off at the end of this game.
Yeah,
I hope so, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have expected so. That's the sort of thing that they would have talked about as well, as to what to do at full time. I mean, I've never experienced this where you had such an amazing atmosphere, actually, to one that's just got a horrible feel about it.
Peters will shepherd the ball behind on the far side, and it will be a goal kick to West Bromwich Albion. I mean, you played in local derbies. You played in West Ham Tottenham derbies, maybe Norwich Ipswich as well.
And you look, of course, you expect there to be...
But you've never seen anything like that.
But you expect there to be a certain amount of hatred, of course, but there has to be a line. And I've never seen that in the flesh.
Well, that line was crossed here today as Thomas Asante comes forward now for West Brom. A low ball into the penalty area, and Semedo plays it behind, and it will be a corner kick.
Yeah, he did well, Thomas Asante, on that far side, just to get away from the defender, but he picked the wrong option. The option was just to cut it back to Jed Wallace, who's completely free. In the end, he tried to go through two Wolves defenders to get it to Swift at the back post.
Mowat will take the corner on the far side. And there is still 7 minutes of normal time to play here. 2-0 to Wolves on Talksport. Mowat's delivery high into the penalty area. Doherty heads the ball over his own crossbar, and it will be another corner kick.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine, what it'll feel like if West Brom do score. But can they create something from one of these set plays?
Swift will take the corner kick. High towards that far post once again. Nodded away though by Kilman. Wallace will try and keep the ball in play. And he's been held there by Doherty, but he manages to wrestle his way beyond Doherty. Deep into the penalty area. It's blocked. Appeals for handball, but it's gone behind, and it will be another corner kick.
I'm not quite sure how he squeezed through there, Jed Wallace. But again, he picked the wrong option rather than trying to smash it through. Could he have just lifted that?
Corner kick again on the far side. Deeper for Mowat this time, very deep, and it's headed away by Kilman, but Swift will keep the ball in play. He'll quickly swing the ball back high towards the far post, and arriving at the far post unmarked was Mowat, but he can't get a shot on goal, and it's a goal kick.
No, it wasn't a bad ball from Swift, deep to the far post. Difficult to get anything on though for Mowat, half volley, stretching.
And there's been the opening goal at Vicarage Road in the FA Cup in the 2 o'clock kickoff. Here's Ian Abrahams.
5 minutes gone. Watford 1, Southampton 0. Free kick on the left-hand side of the penalty area, just outside the box, couple of yards. Matthias Martin stepped up, hit it right-footed, went through a crowd of players and beyond Joe Lumley to give the Hornets the lead. Watford 1, Southampton 0.
Thanks, Ian. 5.5 minutes to play here. A free kick's been given to Albion on the far side. Fellows was just shoved over by Ike Norrie. And in front of a very thick blue line of police officers, Fellows will take the free kick. And now Peters will take over on this near side. Infield towards Fellows. And it's all the way back towards Griffiths again. 5 minutes to play on Talksport. West Brom 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, but this game will not be remembered for the football, we have to say. And if you've just joined us on Talksport, the match was delayed for around 40 minutes by crowd trouble following the second Wolves goal. There were incidents on the pitch and at both ends of the stadium. As Fellows brings it forward now on this near side. A low ball driven into the penalty area. It'll be controlled at the far post by Pippa. He comes in field. It's laid back towards Mowat. Mowat, though, with a heavy first touch. But now Peters will find Fellows again. An opportunity to try and attack down the left. He drives it in, but Semedo closes him down. But Fellows still has the ball. Semedo makes the challenge. And it will be a corner with 4 minutes to play.
No, Pippa just needed to get that out of his feet and strike for goal. He took far too long. 4 touches it took him to get it under control, and then the chance was gone.
Swift will take the corner kick on this near side. Plenty of height there waiting for Albion, as it's nodded a clear at the near post by Cunha, and now fired back in by Peters, but he's not got hold of that. It's about 15 yards wide.
Yeah. terrible decision from Peters, as Jed Wallace is trying to say to him. Just recycle it back out wide for Wallace and Swift to put another ball in the box, shooting from 40 yards. Ridiculous.
3.5 minutes to play. West Brom 0, Wolves 2. And I think so many people inside the stadium now just want to get this game over with, and we will get reaction to what's happened here on and off the field at the end of this game and bring it to you later on this afternoon in the midst of our other commentaries on Talksport. Liverpool against Norwich at 2:30 and Newport against Manchester United at 4:30, and the 5th round draw will be coming up very shortly as well. That's Wallace on the far side, wins it back for Albion. And here is Doyle. Doyle going all the way back towards Craig Dawson. Still boos for him as a former West Brom player. And now it's cleared downfield by Jose Sarr once again, and taken down superbly by Ait Nouri. Took the high dropping ball down with a sumptuous first touch, but he was then unable to find a teammate, and Yokuslu brings it forward here. Now Pippa on the far side. And it's back towards the youngster Caleb Taylor, who replaced Carl Bartley, who had to almost go into the crowd to get his children to safety during the trouble, and has not re-emerged for the remainder of this game. Now Fellows again, pulls it back into the penalty area. Swift with the shot, and it's a sharp save from Jose Sarr, and it's really the first semi-difficult save he's had to make.
Yeah, Fellows has been brilliant since he's been brought off the bench. A couple of times now he's got down the left, whipped in a couple of great crosses. That one low towards Swift, who's just on the half turn just swiveled and prodded it goalwards. I think he thought that had a real chance. Actually, Jose Sarr had read it perfectly and made it look really easy.
Fellows infield again towards Peters as we head towards the 90th minute here, and in the circumstances I can't imagine there will be too much added time, with Wolves leading by 2-0.
No, I wouldn't expect so, and that's the chance now for Cunha.
Tarua finding Cunha inside the penalty area, hammers the shot in, and it's just wide, and a corner kick's being given, and if that's the case, it's an excellent save by Josh Griffiths.
Yeah, I mean, very, very similar opportunity to the goal he scored.
Yeah, brilliant save. Looking at the replay.
Yeah, he did just get a fingertip to it. Griffiths, super save. It was a great strike on the half volley from Cunha in exactly pretty much the same position towards the point of the 6-yard box.
I cannot believe it. Tommy Doyle is going across to take the corner kick, and after everything has happened, somebody else has thrown a bottle onto the pitch. What is the mindset of these people?
That's the problem. They haven't.
Tommy Doyle dismissively boots the bottle off the field of play before taking the corner. There's not too much room there due to the numbers of police and stewards on the far side. It's played short and back towards Doyle again. In towards Doherty. Doherty's cross, it's claimed by Griffiths, and there'll be a minimum of 2 more minutes. Thomas Asante coming forward now, challenged by Cunha, and it's back towards Peters, and here is Yokuslu. And Furlong finding Pippa. Pippa again picking up Mowat. And Mowat's got Swift in support down the left. Just has to stretch though for the cross. He was slightly off balance, so as a result the momentum from the attackers rather stalled. But here is Pippa again. Low cross into the penalty area. Cleared away by Kilman. I have no skin in the game whatsoever between Wolves and West Brom, but in the circumstances it's probably a good job this game isn't going to a replay with a late West Brom comeback here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and you know, you just wonder how this is going to affect West Brom, obviously in the playoffs situation in the Championship. I wonder what's going to happen now. And
well, overall they have been well beaten here today. Wolves have been the better side. They've taken their chances. They've shown more quality when it's mattered, and they've done the ugly side of the game as well. More West Brom fans are beginning to leave now. They've seen enough. fellows coming forward. Back in field towards Mowat. Mowat swings in the cross. It's headed away by Totti. Doherty with the header further clear. And the free kick's been given for a nudge on Ait Norin. It will be a free kick for Wolves, and we have 20 seconds of normal time to play.
Yeah, that should be that. Wolves ultimately through to the next round. A big win for Gary O'Neill, of course. Keep the decent run that they're on going. Of course, for their supporters also. It's been a long time since they've won in this fixture.
That's it. It's all over. The Wolves fans celebrate. There's no great reaction from the Wolves players, understandably. Plenty of handshakes between the two sets of players. A difficult day for them. Wolves are into the 5th round of the FA Cup. But sadly, this is a day which will not be remembered for the goals, the result, or the football. West Brom 0, Wolves 2.
It certainly won't. Thank you very much, Nigel Adderley, for some superb commentary and excellent description of the disgusting scenes that we saw here at the Hawthorns today. And exactly as Nigel said, Dino, the football doesn't matter. Wolves are into the hat, the bag, whatever you want to describe it, for the 5th round of the FA Cup. But this has been a really dark day for football.
You're right. What a sad day for us to have to witness. You know, you thought these days were long gone in this country, but to see that again in the manner that it happened, and the fact that there's so many supporters coming from different stands to get involved, and the amount of police presence that was needed inside the state, the fact that you've got, you know, families and young children that clearly were affected with what happened in that corner was just shocking and disgusting to see, because actually with these sort of games you want that atmosphere that it creates. It normally does create a wonderful atmosphere, these derby games, and especially this competition, and ultimately, you know, it's ended in a complete farcical situation that was so difficult for the staff here at West Brom and the police to deal with.
Yeah, it has been horrendous. The Wolves fans are celebrating over in the Smethwick end, 4,000 of them, delighted that they're into the 5th round of the FA Cup. It's finished here at the Hawthorns. West Brom 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 2. It's been a pleasure to have your company as always, Dean. Nigel Adderley heading down to the tunnel to get all the reaction from both managers, Carlos Corberán and of course Gary O'Neill. You'll hear what they had to say about what happened here at the Hawthorns throughout Talksport. So the Black Country bragging rights are for Wolves, but no one can really brag on what's been a dark day for English football after crowd trouble meant this game had to be abandoned for around 30 minutes. The football ultimately unimportant, and let's hope that the frustration doesn't spill over outside as both sets of supporters head home, and let's hope everybody gets back safely. All the reaction coming up throughout the day on Talksport. We're bringing you back-to-back commentaries in the FA Cup 4th round. Up next, we'll be building up to Liverpool against Norwich.